How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Pretty good. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Thank you again for being willing to come on here. Welcome to
You don't have,
Vertex.
you don't have no audience applause. Like, welcome to the show.
Man, I need a little soundboard to have something in there. Like, how's the day going for you, man?
It's going pretty good. Pretty solid. Pretty solid.
Staying warm
Right.
out there. It's a little cold now.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's not as cold as it is in some places. So you just gotta be grateful. You gotta take the bitter with the sweet, as my grandma used to say.
hmm So real. Speaking of all that, actually that's like a nod to the first question I had for you. There were so many questions I couldn't really think of what to really ask first, but I think the one that kept kind of coming to the surface was if you're able to look at your childhood and your upbringing and like family values that um that you learned just in retrospect, what would you say was in your like creative starter pack?
Well, the first thing I can think about is that my mother stressed the importance of individuality and um, just always dancing to the beat of your own drum. And I think it also helped because I'm an only child, so there wasn't essentially anything in my house to compare myself to, So like everything was new, everything was fresh, and everything was based on my own creativity and my own ideas. My mother, she just always poured into that that idea and did her best to try to strengthen that, by putting me in different programs that allowed me to strengthen my talents. And that was across the board. So whatever I was interested in, my mother, she just would put me in different environments. So, if I, and by the way, I grew up really poor, so my mom was making $20,000 a year,
Mm,
working at a community health center, raising a child. So like a lot of these programs were free. So it's just like she would look in the paper, she would be like, "Oh, there's a free improv class. Like you like to be able to speak. Like this will help you when you're able to be able to speak in front of people. So like let's put you in this thing for the summer. Or let's go to the library and see what programs are in there. Or here's a free music program that's only running for like 3 weekends. Let's put you in this." And she just really let me flourish in different environments and environments where people didn't necessarily look like me. A lot of these places, I was maybe one of 3 or 4 black people, what I mean? Black kids. So that also was something that helped me to be able to maneuver through any environment because I was so used to just operating in different places and different parts of our community that nothing felt really awkward. So she would do that because it's like you got to have courage. You got to have courage, no matter what the audience is, no matter who the people are. You always got to be yourself. So that was the very first thing that was placed in my creative pack, and freedom. Like my grandma, they just never told me creatively I was doing wrong. Like there wasn't anybody like like how parents raise their kids and their kids start to sing like, "Hey man, like hush that up" or something like telling them to be quiet. But like I never had that. Like anything I was doing, whether it be banging on the piano or singing or hitting some pots and pans, was all damn near celebrated. It's
mhm.
just like it's just man, look at him. He's just entertaining himself. So I have such a only child mindset, meaning that whenever I'm creating, like I kind of put myself in my own cocoon and just do what I want to do,
Mm,
as opposed to let outside forces or outside influences influence what I'm making.
and so did you grow up like completely like the only kid, or did you have like cousins or anybody like around your age growing up?
No, I had best friends. So like I had people who were similar to siblings, but they weren't. So like I grew up with childhood friends and our parents were best friends. So like I essentially hung out a lot with them. But no, I'm the oldest cousin. I'm the oldest
Mm,
cousin. I'm the only child. So it's like I'm the first to kind of in my family, like from my generation, um, to do this, to be an artist or whatever, to be a creative. So it's just like you got to take the lumps. But no, I have friends. I feel like I had two personalities. I feel like my mom says I'm an ambivert. So like or maybe I'm a learned extrovert because like I just like when I was young, I really liked attention. So I would be the first person on stage and singing and doing a speech or whatever. But then when I got home, I was really quiet. I was just really into myself, reading books, um, building obstacle courses in my room because I was bored. Like I would just do all type of wild stuff, and then I would spend time with my friends on the weekends too. So I had a rich childhood. Like it wasn't totally um I wasn't totally a solo flying kid. It was just like a mixture, you know.
mhm. And you come from a family of musicians, so I've heard, your dad is a singer, mom's
Hmm.
a pianist, your grandmother,
Hmm.
great grandmother, pianist, and so
Yeah.
like, man, it's what's that? Can you describe, for that to be something that you eventually pursued? I mean, what's it like to have so much experience and guidance in that place? Because like I'm like I'm not the very first artist in my family, but nobody around me was doing what I wanted to do for real. And so it was so much like uncharted territory that I had to learn like via friends or just the internet. But what was it like having like such rich knowledge and experience like right there in the home or in the family?
I mean, it was pretty normal, you know. I also want to say like I'm the first person who is an artist as a profession. Like playing an instrument is just something that you did for my mother and my grandmother and my great grandmother's generation. That's just part of growing up. It's just like you put your children in a program that teaches them how to play an instrument, you know, whether it be trumpet, whether it be piano, whether it be the drums. That's just something that kids did back in the day. And so it was just something that was just in my house, but it wasn't like I could look at my family and be like, oh, that I'm gonna be just like them. As far as like artistry, you know.
Mhm.
But on the flip side of that, you know, the beauty about that is that music was incredibly appreciated in my home, you know. And it wasn't when I think the idea of wanting to be an artist wasn't far fetched in my household. You know, like telling my mom I wanted to be a musician is not something that she would have scoffed at. She was like, all right.
Mhm.
You know, like it's not this kind of like you're not gonna be a musician, you're gonna go to school and you're gonna be like a doctor or a lawyer. In fact, my mom's a dentist. My mom didn't want me to be a dentist, you know, because she was like, that's not anything that's gonna make you happy. She didn't want me to follow in her footsteps. Which is very rare. You know, when you talk to a lot of people um, who are artists, you know, a lot of their parents wanted them to follow, you know, along in their footsteps or take over their family business. And my mom was she was just adamant that I wasn't going to be a dentist because she just
Mhm.
knew that I wasn't, I didn't have the patience or the capacity to go through medical school and
Like,
be
you
in
don't
that
want no
world,
smoke
you
with
know?
that.
Yeah, I think she found out early on that I was very creative. In fact, she's the one who kind of helped with that discovery. Like she put me in saxophone lessons when I was 6 years old. That was the first instrument I started playing. She would play piano around the house, and then there would just be tons of music that was always played from very diverse genres, from soft rock to R&B to soul, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, my mom wrote my first song. The first time I ever performed was when I was 6 years old, and my mom wrote a rap song. Like my mom wasn't listening to rap, but she just appreciated the art form. Like that's how dope my mom is. My mom's like, there was a talent show for our church, and she was and me and my best friend wanted to be in it, and we had seemingly at the time we had no talent. We was like, we
Mm.
want to be in the talent show, and she was like, what do you want to do? And we were like, we don't know. We just want to
Just
be in
wanna
it.
be in it. We just wanna we
Yeah,
want a
and
piece.
And she was like, man, maybe you guys can perform a song. And we were like, okay, how do we do that? And I remember, her taking me to a record store and buying like the cassette tapes at the time where it's like the instrumental, and like her and my best friend's aunt sitting at the kitchen table with index cards and just playing the instrumental over and over again and just writing the song for us.
Mm.
And and that's the song we performed and we won. We ended up winning first place, 6 years old, dressed like the Temptations. We had white turtlenecks and black slacks and black patent leather shoes, and
Oh,
we looked
y'all was
like we were about to
clean.
sing. We looked like we were about to sing "Merry Christmas" by the Temptations.
Yeah.
Oh man, but yeah, it was dope, and yeah, so I've had a very supportive upbringing.
Man, and what was it about music? Because whenever I mean, your mom said that clearly you're very creative, and even the way, like, whenever I hear you speak, like, you don't really speak so much about music, but you speak more about the expression of self. And so I
Mhm,
feel like that could have been translated across a bunch of different mediums. And
mhm,
when I was researching you, I'm thinking like, oh, like if his parents and grandparents were musicians, then of course it was probably early inspiration like that. But if they weren't musicians like professionally, then why music and not like painting? Why not writing? Why not, acting?
That's funny because I wanted to do all that stuff. Like, and I,
Mhm.
and I did it when I was a kid. So I just tried a lot of stuff. That's the only thing I remember is like I said, my mom put me in improv classes. I did acting classes. When I was a kid, I was in commercials. I did like cereal commercials
Mm.
locally. I watched a lot of movies when I was a kid. Like I'm an only kid. Like I'm a only kid who grew up a latchkey kid. I was left to my own devices very early on. So like all I did was just find things to entertain me. So like I would watch movies and I would act them out. Like there's movies that I just know by heart,
Mm.
and I would just act them out. And I was like, man, I'm gonna be an actor. And like I remember this is kind of embarrassing. I used to call NBC. It was a TV show, and they were showing reruns. It came out before like I was like old enough to like see it and when it first came out, but it was playing reruns, and there was a show called Saved by the Bell. And I thought that it was a new
Mm.
show. I didn't know it was reruns. So I was so fascinated with this show. I called NBC. I found their number somehow and I was like, hey, I want to know how could I get on Saved by the Bell? And the woman's like, "Hey, this isn't the production. You're gonna have to, we don't do this here." But I
Mm.
called every day. This is like I'm like 7 years old. I'm calling these people every day, and I'm like, "Hey, it's me again. I just want to know, um, say by the bill, say by the bill." And like eventually, like they sent me like their headshots with the whole cast signed it. Like they gave me like autographs or whatever. And
Wow.
I was just relentless, man. But I wanted to be an actor when I was a kid because I also liked Home Alone. So I was like, I could be a kid actor. You know what I'm saying? At one point, I wanted to be an animator because I grew up watching Disney movies all the time. So I was like, man, it has to be cool to just draw like cartoons all day and animation, and that really fascinated me. And I ended up taking like drawing class, like the local community college had like a drawing class for kids, and
Mhm.
I was taking a drawing class. And so yeah, I just tried a lot of stuff. Music was just the thing that I was probably the best at because I just the way my brain works is just was able to put together things in a really unique way. It's funny because for the longest, my mom will always say like, "Don't forget to do your film stuff." I made a film during the pandemic, and before that, my mom was like, "Yo, don't forget to do that because you're really good at that too." So like, my mom was just always reminding me like, "You have other talents too. Like music is your number one, but don't forget to explore other places."
There's this thing that I think I've kind of got a better understanding of the concept just through talking to people here, but it's this idea of like you don't have to become the medium. Like you don't like you're not just a musician, you are somebody who is using music to bring something to the world, right? That's like the purpose of getting better in these different mediums. It's like these ideas are coming to you from some place out there and they're choosing you to like channel through to like enter the world. And so like you're getting better at these different mediums to like more closely and more accurately bring these visions to life. And it helped me see the mediums as like tools rather than like identities. And that like blew my mind because I'm like, oh shoot. And I'm thinking like, oh, I have to pick. You know, I gotta be one, I gotta stick with it, you know, that whole idea. But you could have an idea and it's like a song may not do it. It has to be something that you can watch. It has to be like a short film. And then like you're just getting better at that so that you can like just further communicate and further express yourself and these ideas.
Yeah, they're just all different colors, you know. It's just whatever color you choose to use to express the thought or the expression or the feeling that you have inside of you, a writer. But I more so consider myself just an artist, you know, just somebody who utilizes whatever medium is necessary to get out my thought and express the feelings that I have inside of me at the time. Sometimes it's just not music. Sometimes it's just writing. Sometimes it's just like I'll just write poetry that nobody will ever hear, like nobody will ever see. It's just something that I want to say or I need to say, and that's that. It won't be something that is necessarily made for the sake of consumption by other people, which I think is important.
Yeah, definitely have to get those things out. And then like I think it's better to kind of share things with people versus creating things for people unless it's like a specific job or a task, you know? And
I don't think you always have to. I don't think you always have to share things either. I
yeah.
think like some stuff you just make just because you need to get it out. No one will ever read my journal. Hopefully, if I'm gonna burn it before I leave this earth. I'm gonna burn it. I'm burning that shit before I leave this earth. So nobody ever read it. But I write in there for myself. Like I don't write it with the hopes that it helps somebody connect with it. It like is written in a way that someone else can connect with me. Like I write it for me. And when I go back, I can kind of see my own growth and see what my headspace was. It's almost like a snapshot into my psyche at that given moment. If I didn't have that, if everything I made was to be shared, I think it would make me less excited to be an artist. Because art to me is about expression, and sometimes that expression is just for myself. And maybe that's just the only child thing too. You know, like that I when I'm thinking about it, it's like, yeah, well, you did grow up an only child, so like a part of it probably is just like you just wanting to have something for yourself.
I mean, I definitely feel that too. Like I'm the youngest of four. So like sometimes you be wanting something to yourself because you got to share everything else, you know? So you ended up going to college at Clark Atlanta, but
Mhm.
I wanna kinda talk about the in between because I feel like by the time you got to Clark Atlanta, maybe you were like really like ambitious on the music front.
Mhm.
And but I wanna know about like how did that fire start to grow over those years? Were there any early things that you were getting into, or things that kinda happened in those years between that really, like, sent you down to Atlanta like a missile?
All right, so in high school was the point where I knew for a fact I was going to be a musician. I knew I was going to be a musical artist. Like I kind of made my decision around the age of 14,
Mhm.
and a few things happened that gave me that boost of confidence that let me know that that was the right decision. First thing was I had an incredible supportive music teacher by the name of Miss Brenda Dismute. And in school, I was just always writing. I was just always in the back of the class, writing lyrics, writing songs. My mom would get called to, by my teachers, like, hey, listen, your son is really smart, but this nigga just keeps writing stuff in the back of the class. I can't stop him. Like, I don't know what to do. And so Miss Dismute, she was so supportive. Like, I would be writing in her class, in the music class, and there was a music recital that was going to be performed for the whole school. And she was like, yo, I'll give you 3 to 5 minutes to write a song and you get a chance to perform it, and we'll have the band, and we'll create the music, and you get a chance to write your own song and perform your own song. And she had never done this before in the history of the time she had been teaching at this school. I think she had so much admiration for my like my tenacity to just keep doing what I wanted to do, or so much respect for it, that she created a section for me to just do my thing. And I remember like I was writing a song. Like I remember just like sitting with the band. Like this is my first time ever sitting with like fellow musicians at 14, 15, and like guiding them on what to play. Like this is the kind of rhythm I want. This is the kind of guitar part I want. This is the kind of bass line I want. And from there we kind of create the music. And then I would just record that, then take it home and then write a song, write the verses and the chorus, and I'll come back and rehearse it, and then we ended up performing it, and it was amazing. Like the whole class, the whole school was like, "Oh my god, like this is crazy, this is crazy," and it's just like before you was the man and after you was the man. It's like you ever see the movies like where the dudes are. I was never a nerd in school, but like we was just like you're a regular person, and then you came back, and it's just like Superman has walked into the building, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I felt, you know. But that was the first one. That was the first thing. And then the second thing is after school, I would when I first got my car, like 16 years old, I would drive. So I always hung with older people, you know, like I always have really admired older, like when I was in high school, I was hanging with college kids, you know. And so I was going to Fish University in Nashville, and I was just hanging out on their campus, like a 16-year-old. And then I would be going up to their radio station, and every time I went to the radio station, the older kids would just let me rap and sing on the mic. They would be like, "Yo, Spree, hop on the mic," and like I would do my thing, and like the phone lines would light up, man. Like people were like, "Yo, who is that?" He's like, "Yo, this kid's in high school. He's in high
Mm.
school." Yo, it was just crazy. Like I was people. I was at Fisk. I was on Fisk campus so much. The college kids thought I was a college kid, you know.
Mm.
Um, and so that was the second thing. And then the third thing was I was in a group when I was like right before my senior year, and we were about to get signed. And I forgot what happened. I think like one of the parents didn't sign off on it or something like that. But like it was like through like Universal or something. Like it was a four-man group, four kids, four of us. It was dope. Like it was just fun as hell. I remember like us traveling up and down the South, up and down like the southern region. So like Nashville, Chattanooga, Memphis, Mississippi, New Orleans, just like going to different southern regions and performing. And I think those three things really let me know, like, damn, bro, like you have something, you know, like you just have something. I didn't know what it was because there was nothing to really compare it to. Because again, even though I was doing these things, I wasn't in a professional setting, you know. So it's not like I can compare it to somebody who's like really, really doing it. Only thing I could say is like in my city, like people thought I had talent, you know, and people poured into that, and people guided me to places where that talent could be cultivated and appreciated. But I knew that for me in Nashville, like there was going to be a ceiling because at the time growing up, there wasn't a lot of like avenues for black music. You know, growing up, only two things that were happening in Nashville. There was Christian music and there was country music, obviously, you know. And there weren't a lot of like record labels who were signing black acts unless you were just doing like Christian music, which is more so like CCM right now. And so I just knew that I was gonna have to go somewhere else. You know, we had people who I grew up with that were killing it, you know, but they were doing it on a regional, local level. You know, you had people like Shannon Sanders, who was really popular. He was like the first person I saw out of Nashville that was signed to a record label, and so we all looked up to him as kids. You know, he was an adult, but like he was like the first person that you could see in your city. I was like, damn, like shit, like somebody that came from here that's black got a record deal. That's crazy. And then you had people like this rapper named Pistol and Haystack, and they were like regional acts too. And then after that, you had like Young Buck, who is a little bit older than me, but we went to school together. And so like you had him, and so like it wasn't a lot. It wasn't like living in New York where like every artist is signed to a major label and you get a chance to see them on MTV or something or BET or whatever. I knew like when I got to Atlanta, because I always wanted to move to Atlanta, I was like, man, when I get to Atlanta, I'm gonna be around. I'm gonna be around the people that can make this shit happen, you know.
Mm.
And so I was just so excited to get there. And so,
Why Atlanta though?
well, Atlanta for a few reasons. My family's from Atlanta, so
Mhm.
my mom used to live on Simpson Road, as a kid. My uncle went to Harper Archer. It was called Harper at the time. My grandmother lived in Atlanta. She moved here in 1960, um, and so or a little bit before 1960. And so like I had been coming here. This is the only home I knew outside of Nashville. I was spending summers here, and so I had my own group of friends here that I kicked it with during the summertime. We go to YMCA programs. We go to all type of things. Things happen at Benjamin Mays, like all these things that were happening in Atlanta. So I knew I wanted to get to Atlanta. Like I was
Mm.
through with Nashville. For the simple fact, I was like, man, if I went to TSU, it's just gonna be like 13th grade. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's
same
just gonna be the
people,
same
same
people.
stuff.
So it's just like you have to expand and like how can you ever see what you're made of if you don't leave? I knew Atlanta was a place to be for me
Mm.
at the time.
Okay. And then so you're down there, and I heard that you got connected with Dallas Austin there and got
Hmm.
an internship.
Hmm.
And like, can you walk me through that process? Do you remember that day?
Yeah, hell yeah. It did start off. It didn't start off with it as an internship. It started off just needing a job. Like I was living with my grandmother, and she was like, "Man, boy, if you live here, you're gonna have to work. You're gonna have to get a job." And I was like, "Oh man, like job, like a real job."
Yeah.
She's like, "You gotta get a job." And so I was like, "All right." I tried to think in my head, like, "All right, if I have to get a job, like, where's the coolest place I could work?" And I was like, man, Little Five Points. Little Five Points looks like that's a place that's like my people. There has to be a place down there where I could work, and it looks like a fun environment. And I feel like if I go down there, I would enjoy working because I was just so adamant about like I had worked my whole life. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, I got to Atlanta, I got to work some more. I'm in school, like I'm in
Mhm.
college. Um, so I was like, I need to do something fun. So I went to Little Five Points, and I was just going to store, just like filling out applications. And I got to this one store, and it was like a clothing store, and my friend from school was in there, and I was like, "You work here?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm like the assistant manager." I was like, "Oh, jackpot!"
Yeah.
And I was like,
Found my
"Jackpot!"
spot.
I was like, "Listen, my grandma said I need a job. This looks like a little easy spot to work."
Mhm.
um, is it like, are you guys hiring? And she was like, we actually are. So I filled out an application, and she said, hey, the head manager's coming in like an hour if you want to just stick around and meet her. So I waited for an hour, and the head manager came. Her name was Emily. And she was like, shit, we can do your interview right now. And so we went next door to like a sushi restaurant. And like the whole interview
Mhm.
was not a real interview. It was just basically talking about music. Like it was just about my musical taste. And because she was like a person who listened to everything. So like she was like, all right, what do you listen to? And I was like, I listen to like, Outkast. I love the Beastie Boys. I love Tool. I love I love the Beatles. I love Portishead. And she was like, really? I was like, yeah. And I was just really going into depth about the music and about the intricacies, about the production and the sonics and all this stuff. And she was just like really taken aback that here I am, like this 18-year-old is like really going in depth with her about these musical acts that I love so much. And she was like, you know what, you're cool as hell. She said, yeah, you can work here. That's cool. And so I started working there. Now I found, like the next day, I found out that the store was owned by Dallas Austin. He owned the store, and it was
Mm.
called Rowdy at the time. And
Rowdy.
he was just
Okay.
he was just selling T-shirts and like skate stuff and like kind of like label paraphernalia or whatever. Every day after school, I would just bring my guitar and I would just sit in the store and just practice like playing guitar. And then one day he came in. I'll never forget it. He came in and he caught me playing guitar. He's like, hey man, you play like how long you been playing? I was like, I only been playing for a little while. He said, man, that's really dope. He said, man, that's
Hmm.
what's up, man. You look cool with that guitar. And then he just left. I thought I was gonna get signed after. I told him I was like, "Yo, Dallas Austin just said he said I look cool with the guitar. I think the nigga about to
Yeah,
sign me, y'all.
it's over with. It's over with. We going up.
It's, o- it's over with. I'm changing my number tomorrow."
Brand new, changing all 10
yo,
digits.
needless to say, did not get signed. Um, and but like the store experience was cool. So then maybe a few months later, he ended up closing down the store. And so I was back in the same situation where my grandma was like, "Hey, hey, like that was good you had a job, but we gotta find something else with your to do with your time." And so I ended up calling Emily because she worked for him at his office. That was his office. I was like, "Hey, is it possible like I could get an internship with you guys?" She's like, "Yeah, like we gonna start in like I think it's like the month before the summertime." So she's like, "We'll start next month for the summer." And I was like, "Bet." And so when summer came, I was the first person up there, and I was just intern shouty up in that joint, you know. Um, and before I took the internship, I made myself. This is probably important for people who are thinking about doing internships. I gave myself one rule. This is one of my well, two rules. The first rule was I wasn't going to come in telling people I did music or being an artist, because from just my experience of being around people in school who like will go into these different places, whether it be radio stations, whether it be music labels, the first thing they want to do is come in and be like, "Hey, yo, I'm an artist," and it's just like they're working to get something. You know what I mean?
Mm,
And so I told myself like I don't want people to think that I'm just here just to be signed or just be an artist. I want people to just um, appreciate me for like hard work, you know. So that was the first rule, and the second rule is I made it a game where I wanted to be the first person at the office and the last person to leave. So I would like literally wake up super early. I'll be at the door before the president got there, like president of the company. And then I would leave when the last person. I would literally just sit in the lobby until the last person left, and I did that for like 4 months every
mm.
day. You know, during the week of just like outworking people and not telling people what my aspirations were. So I felt like my thought process behind that is like you work hard for somebody, they're gonna automatically want to do something for you anyway, because they're gonna be like, "Yo, this nigga works hard. Like whatever you want. Like I don't care.
Mhm.
Like what you want. Like what requests do you have? You know." And they're more apt to help you as opposed to like if you're just kind of just there not doing shit. You know.
Man, there's gotta be like a crazy viewpoint for people working there. They're like, "Man, we don't even know what he does, but he just be here. Like, he be here, in and out, like, and he's working like crazy." And so then, trying to think about how to word my next question with it. Um,
I mean, that's not even the end of the story. There's actually a more elaborate part of the story
okay, yeah, go for it.
that all right. So like when I was talking about how my only child had like remember the story I had about like um calling and say about the NBC studios every day. So like
Right.
I'm a person who just has like perseverance. I have a no quit mentality. I have a don't take no for an answer type of thing when it comes to like aspirations and goals. After like 4 months, I was like, man, now's the time. Now's the time I tell Dallas that I am an amazing artist, an amazing producer and songwriter, and he's gonna hear my genius. I made a CD for him, and I never forget. Like, I remember like it was just that he pulled up like in a black Porsche. It was like a black Porsche Ferrari. The sun was out. It was like beaming extra bright on like the Porsche. I'm like, this nigga's like super rich. Like he's like he had like the rich man glow. And so he walked in. He was strutting in the office, and I remember like taking like 3 deep breaths. And I was like, "Hey Dallas, uh, hey, I just wanted to give you this CD. And I do music, and I just want to, get your thoughts on it." He's like, "Man, you do music?" I was like, "Yeah, man. Like, I think you'll like it too. It's really different. It's really like musical." He's like, "Cool, man. I'm gonna check it out." And so I saw him take the CD, and I saw him get in his car, and I saw him toss it over his shoulder.
Hey.
He tossed that shit over his shoulder into the back seat, and it's like that joint. You ever see a movie where the thing moves in slow motion? It's like the CD was quadruple flipping back into a back seat of a black hole, and it's just like it just disappeared, and he drove off. I was thinking like, damn, I don't know if that's a good sign.
I don't know if he'll ever see that. Dang,
Yeah.
that's
So
like a
then,
movie. A movie did that.
yeah.
I
Oh,
forget the name of it, but like he gave him the CD, and then I think he went to the bathroom or something, and I
oh
forget
yeah,
the name
hustle
of
and
the movie.
flow, hustle and flow. Yeah,
Yeah.
hustle and flow. Yeah.
Oh
So he tosses it
man.
up. He tosses it over his shoulder into the like backseat black hole. So then,
Mhm.
like 2 days later, he comes back to the office, and I'm like, Dallas, you get a chance to listen to the CD? He's like, oh man, I lost it. Can you give me another one? I was like, damn, all right, bet. So I went to the back, I made another CD with the music, and I gave it to him. Then I watched as he got out. And this time he was getting into a different car. And then I saw him do the same thing, he tossed over his shoulder again.
Oh man.
He quadruple flipped into the black hole of abyss. And he just drove off. I was like, damn, I don't think he's gonna listen.
Did you just ask me for another CD just to throw it back there again?
Yo, so then like the next week comes and then he pulls up to the office again and I go up to him again. I was like, hey, DA, did you get a chance to check out the music? And he's like, oh man, you know what? I lost it. Hey, I'm not gonna lose it this time. Just give me one more. So I made him another CD.
I'm
And
going
this
to the
time I
car
didn't even
with you. I'm putting it in
and
there
then,
for you.
and then, right. And this time I didn't even look, I didn't even watch him go to the car because I didn't even want to see like if he's gonna toss it. So I was like, you know what? He drove off. And I was like, man, there has to be another way to make him listen to my music. And I was like, man, what could that be? I was like, okay, I got an idea. So I remember I had the key to his personal studio. And my grandmother at the time, she had like this huge stereo system. I mean, like it was like human size, right? And she had an old station wagon at the time. So I was like, bet. So I went home, I packed the whole stereo system in the car, I drove it to the studio, and then I I opened the door and I jammed the door open with this one speaker, and I was walking to the lobby piece by piece, building a stereo system. Like imagine like a huge stereo system in the middle of a lobby of a professional studio. I was like, this nigga gonna listen to my music. So I built the stereo system in the lobby. There was all type of artists sitting in there. I was like, what is this little nigga doing? I was
Like,
like,
I'm doing work.
just you wait, just you wait, just you wait. You gonna find out. So I built the stereo system in the lobby, and then I had my CD. I put that joint in. I turned the volume all the way up, like to 10. I just closed my eyes and I gave myself a prayer. Like, man, either they're gonna like kick me out, they're gonna beat me up and kick me out, or either they're gonna love what they hear. I just pushed play. And I just like I was like, shit, let the dice let it land where it lands. And I pushed play. And then it wasn't even 30 seconds into the song. I hear somebody in like from a back room singing the song, right? And I'm like, who else
Mm.
is singing this song, right? And then Dallas Stark comes out of his room. He's like, he's singing the lyrics.
Mm.
And he was like, I was like, how'd you know this song? He said, oh yeah, that last CD you gave me, I finally listened to it.
Oh
He's like, yo,
wow.
he's like, yo, this shit is jamming. And then like,
Dang.
so everybody in the lobby's like super, super hype off the music. And he was like, yo, how would you like, you don't have to be an intern no more. Like, how would you like if I just gave you your own room here at the studio? I was like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, you can just have your own room. You like, you do music. Like, you don't need to be in the office, you know? So he gave me like a small, like a very, very, very tiny, tiny closet space, but it's like my own little space. And he was like, we got drum machines here. Pick a drum machine that you want to use or whatever, and like, just come here and create. And that's how I started like working in the studio every day.
And a lot of people aren't willing to put forth that persistence. Like a lot of people would have seen that first quadruple backflip and they would have never even came back to the studio.
Nah,
And
gotta hear me out.
yeah, and
Gotta hear me out.
there's I think it's something special about that level of self-belief, because you're not so easily swayed by the actions and opinions of others. Like, because it sounded like even whenever you were doing your prayer, you're like, well, they're either gonna beat me up, kick me out. But it wasn't like, oh, I either do this or I quit. It's like, no, I'm just gonna have to find another way around. And there's something special about that. Even the I'm here and I need to work hard while I'm here. Like you're taking full advantage of that time period of like you're not just going and just doing what, just what they ask of you. It's like you're truly trying to soak up every moment, every opportunity, and I think that's
Mhm.
like, could you explain to people who don't really know or see the importance of doing those types of things, like how, how important is that in the grand scheme of it all?
Like working hard, or just
Yeah,
like
just
being
like
in.
the values of what you were doing, not necessarily like what you did in particular, but just like the mindset you had and like the approach you took and like the tenacity, that you held on to.
Oh, well, I think it comes from like, well, I think the values of like working hard is like, I remember my grandmother telling me, if you want to make $1 million, you gotta help somebody make $1 million. And for some reason, that always stuck with me. Like that the value of like helping somebody else helps you. Not
Mm,
all the time. Like there are people who will take advantage of you. Don't get me wrong. And I think that is up to your own discernment to determine if that will happen. But there is a part of it that's like, man, in some cases, hard work is rewarded, like hard work and tenacity and perseverance. And the idea of like, they're going to see me by any means necessary. I'm not going to hurt anybody, but just like the thing that I want to hear, I'm gonna be honest, like the thing that I need to hear before I just give up on something is for them to tell me to, this shit sucks, leave me the fuck alone. Like
mm,
go somewhere else. Like I need to hear that part. Like somebody just not telling me that they heard something, or just like that's why I didn't give up when Dallas told me he lost a CD, because he hadn't heard the music. Like because my thing was like, oh, all he needs to do is hear it. like
mhm,
like if that's the only barrier that is between me and you, and like me putting myself in an environment where there is a lot of people who are doing the things that I want to do. If the only barrier is that you haven't heard it, that's an easy fix.
just
I can
put it
just make
on.
you hear it. Yeah, I'll bring a stereo system and you can hear it. Like that's the way my mind works. It's just like it's not to give up. It's not to say, oh man, he tossed it over his shoulder. I guess he doesn't like it. How does he not like it? He hasn't even heard it. He hasn't even heard the music. And that's always my attitude. Like, why give up if they haven't seen you, if they haven't heard you, if they don't know what you can do? Like we as humans walk around with all these preconceived ideas and assumptions about things that aren't necessarily true. Like I didn't get a call back. They didn't answer my email, so they must think I suck. Um, like I didn't get this opportunity, so I must be trash. It's just like we walk around with all these things in our head that's just not the real truth of it all. Like sometimes people just haven't seen you or heard you or seen what you can do. So sometimes you just gotta make people do it. Sometimes you gotta get in their face and do it. I mean, there's limits to that, obviously, because we live in such a cloud chasing era. But if you truly believe in yourself, you just gotta find ways to, man, to just break through. That's
Mhm.
just part of it. And this is before social media too, when I had to do this. So it's just like just finding just risk ways, or assessing my level of risk in which things I want to do to get to where I need to get to.
Mm. And how do you feel about that tape now? Can people still hear
Hell no.
it?
Hell no.
Nah, I mean, if
Um,
Dallas Austin was singing it, it gotta be good. It's gotta be solid at least.
I was listening to it last year. It has promise. So because I'm the person who made it, I'm my own worst critic. So like I'm gonna hear the amateurish aspects of it. I'm gonna hear a kid who's shooting for big ideas, but not necessarily landing all of them, but like taking risks musically. So I imagine I don't want to speak for him, but I imagine because Dallas is such an eclectic individual, and he heard the music, and he heard somebody, a kid at the time I was like 18, who's like really shooting for the moon. Like I'm having like musicians come in, and I'm doing like all these crazy weird changes, and I'm blending like hip hop with like the blues and like soul music, and it's just like I'm sure he heard this and was like, yo, this is crazy. Like this isn't the typical demo CD that I usually get. This is like somebody who's really creative, and all they need to do is just be in an environment where they can hone in on the thing that makes them incredible, and also to kind of develop it a little bit more. So I imagine that's probably what he heard. I don't, you know, but I don't know. Maybe you heard something else too.
Okay, so I know also, or I heard also that during this time, um, you were able to kind of practice. I'm not sure if it was because he was teaching you or if you were just around and you were just practicing, but you became a better musician, a better songwriter. You also got to meet a couple of big names in the music industry as well. Like, what was what was that time like for you? Or like, do you think that's where you kind of got a lot of your like heavy reps in terms of like bolstering your craft?
Yeah, I always say I didn't go to a certified accredited school. I went to the school of Dallas Austin Recording Projects,
Mm,
and that school is probably better than any school you can go to for music because you're in an environment where you're watching professionals work at a high level every day. So it was like Dallas Austin, another writer named Jasper Cameron who like wrote everything from Sierra Goodies to Sierra Promise to Lloyd. Um, um, all the Lloyd hit records, produced them. So they were all done in that studio, Then to a good friend of mine, Novel, who's a singer songwriter who was writing for Joss Stone and Khalees and Alicia Keys and Leona Lewis, and my other friends who were great engineers, Paul Sheehy and and Carlton and amazing musicians like Tony Reyes. Like all these people were in this space at the same time and everybody was open. It was the most open environment I had ever been in up until that point because I had never been in a place where like, for instance, like Dallas was working with like Gwen Stefani, right? And he would be like, yo, Spree, you can sit in here and watch me make music. Just don't say anything. Just don't like disturb the vibe of it. But you can actually watch me make a song. Right. And so I'm like, I'm in a studio with Dallas Austin and Gwen Stefani as an up and coming songwriter, watching a professional actually make the song. Like talk about on the job training. You know what I'm saying?
right.
By like one of the best. Like you couldn't ask for there's no teacher in this world in a school across America that's going to give you what being in the studio with a person who's going to make a song that you're going to hear on the radio tomorrow feels like. Like it's just different. It's just a different place. And because he was, because Dallas was has always been like that to younger artists, just like giving them opportunities to flourish. It would have behooved me not to take advantage of it and to grow and to learn as much as I can. It was so crazy because Dallas would let me have band practice in the lobby. Like I would have a drummer and a guitar player and me playing guitar, and he would just let us play loud music in the lobby. And I couldn't for the life of me figure out like why he would do this, but he was just he was just different, man. He was just different. Like he's just a different person. Like to like in a generosity sense of just letting you just grow and do whatever you want to do and not impeding on your creativity. Not trying
Mm,
to tell you what to do or what not to do. Just like letting you flourish and then allowing you to be in spaces where you can take what you have and refine it and make it better, make it professional, make it competitive too, because you want to be competitive too. So all those things. It was just the best. It was the best, man. It was the best. I learned
yeah.
how to do everything. I knew how to take every aspect of who I was music creatively and hone it in that space.
Mm. And when you were, I mean, just watching them, what do you think are some things that you found to be consistent amongst, these greats?
So the song is important. Song is always important. Um, One thing that was told to me when I was there was like if you can play a song, if a song sounds amazing just on piano or on guitar or just by itself, if it still has its power, then it's a great song. Like the production shouldn't be something that makes a record. It should be something that complements a record.
Mm,
Um, Melody is king, and have integrity. Have a gold standard for yourself. I think we talked about this yesterday. Have a personal standard in which you don't want to go, in which you would not go under. So like, if a song doesn't meet your personal standard, it doesn't matter if it can go out. It doesn't matter if you can put it out and it'll be all right. It's like, but do you feel good about it? And if you don't feel good about it, then you probably should work a little bit harder on it or work more on it so it meets your standard. Yeah, those are some of the things I think that are still ingrained into me to this day in the music I make. It's just I have a set standard for myself, and I have to be able to satisfy that before anybody hears something that I've made. You know,
And so you come out of the internship and out of the studio, and you go to New York. Why?
because I had done everything here.
You're ready to expand some more.
Yeah, you gotta give yourself challenges. When I was living in Atlanta and I was working with Dallas, I was also performing 3 times a week. So I was performing at every venue that would have me. Like me, it was me and a drummer, this guy named Ali Warren, who ended up playing for like people like Waka Flocka and Future and all that stuff. And it was just us two. It was like a duo. And I would be playing guitar, and I'd be singing and rapping, and he'd be playing drums. We performed so much around the city by ourselves. And we had been written up in every paper. Trev Loafin that covered us. We had been in the AJC. I was already working with one of my heroes. So it's like at that point, I was like, there's nothing, there's nothing more I could do here. You know, like this is the ceiling of what I have the capacity for here in Atlanta. So I want to see what my skill set is matched up to people in a bigger city. It's easy to be a fish in a pond here, but when I moved to New York, I'm a minnow. I'm another small fish trying to make his way to their goals. So I, was- I was like, I gotta get to New York. And
Mhm.
so I didn't tell anybody that I was moving to New York either, because I think what I learned when I was young is that when you tell people your dreams and your goals, even people who have good intent, they're going to tell you reasons why you shouldn't do it, just maybe because they may be worried about you. I knew that if I told people I'll be moving to New York, the first thing was like, "Well, do you have a job up there? Do you have anything secure up there? Is there anything set?" And it's like I didn't want to tell people that. I didn't want to give people that chance to say that and let it, possibly affect my decision in taking a risk at the time. So I didn't tell anybody until like the day before I was gonna leave. I just bought a one-way train ticket, packed the duffel bag and my guitar. That's it.
And when was this? When like what time of the year? Which year?
Oh, I remember like yesterday. It was a day I got there the day Michael Jackson died.
Oh wow. That was like summer, like 2009.
June 29th, I think.
And
Either the day he died or like a couple of days before he died, but it was like that week.
okay, so you get to New York, and what's your first steps off the train?
I didn't have any.
So like where'd you go? What'd you do?
Yeah, I didn't have anything situated in New York. Like I didn't even have a place. Like but I knew me. Like I knew that if I put myself in an environment in a situation where I got to figure it out, and I'll figure it out. So I didn't even believe that New York was. I didn't believe that what I did was real until the train conductor was like, "Welcome to New York City." I was like, "Oh shit!" Like, goddamn, I actually did it.
We here.
like, I hadn't figured out this part of the game, this part of the story. Yeah.
I didn't think I get this far. Oh my god.
It's like, wait, I haven't figured out this part of the plan yet. Hold on. Oh man, so I got off the train, and the first thing I did, it was summertime, it was hot, so I just walked around the city with just a bag and a guitar, and I just walked, man. I just walked. I was like that Sting song, like Englishman and New York or something. That's how I felt. I was an Englishman, but I was a Southerner in New York, and everything looked new. The buildings looked like they were the tallest buildings I ever seen. There was just a sea of people walking to places that I didn't know where they were going to. The energy was electric. Like you could feel it as soon as you got off the train. Like it just was like you could feel it, man. Like you could feel it with your fingertips. Um, and so I just roamed, man. I just roamed. I just walked for blocks until my little Converse couldn't walk no more. And I had no place to go. And so I was like, yo, bro, you didn't figure out where you're gonna sleep. I was like, oh yeah, I gotta think about this. So I went back to where I came, was Penn Station. And at the time they had a seating area where like they were very kind of lax. So like I had my train ticket, so you could just flash your train ticket and tell them you're waiting for the train, your the Amtrak, and they would just let you sit in the area. And so I would just sleep there. I would sleep in the little seating area because it had a lot of light. It was like right in the middle of the train station. It wasn't like in the tunnel or anything. So I would just pass out there, act like I was waiting for a train, and then in the morning I would just go to the bathroom, just like take a wash up, you know, wash my face. I did this for like a week or two, and then I ended up crashing on the couch with a friend I went to school with for a couple weeks. And yeah.
So then how did you reconnect with that friend? Because I'm wondering, like, if you found them, like, I'm surprised you didn't hit them up like the first or second day,
No,
or was it something where
it's on somebody I bumped to on the street, and
oh,
they were like,
okay.
"Yo, where you staying?" Hey, baby, I'm in the middle of it." You know what I'm saying? I'm like, she's like, where what part of New York you staying? I'm on 34th Street, baby, right by Madison Square Garden. She's like, she's like, "Oh, you're near the train station." I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Where near the train station?" I'm like, "I'm in the train
A
station."
minute.
She like you're in the train station? I was like, "Yeah, I'm sleeping in that joint." She's like, "What?" Yo, you got your like how much stuff you got? Which I told her I just had my bag and my guitar. And she was like, "Yo, you ain't gotta do that, man. Just you can crash on the couch."
Mm,
So off to Brooklyn I went.
mhm. Man, shout out to her. So then what serendipitous event followed that?
The week I got to her house, uh, I get a what is it? I get a call from my friend Dominique Saldonado, and we had met in Atlanta because again I told you I had been doing shows 3 times a week, and I had been passing out like music, my CD or whatever. So she called me and she was like, "Hey, Spree, yo, I gave your CD to my friend Kamal, and he wants you to call him tomorrow." I'm like, "Who the fuck is Kamal?" like, I'm homeless, baby. Like I'm trying to figure my life out right now. You want me to call somebody? um, and she was like, "It's my friend Q-Tip. He wants you to call him,
Mm,
and he wants to talk to you about music."
like Q-tip,
I was
Q-tip.
like, "Yeah," and I was like, this sounds like a joke. This sounds like you just you, you, you pulling the wool over my eyes." So I hung up on her. And then she texted me. She's like, "Yo, I'm dead serious." She texted me the number. She's like, "Call him tomorrow at like odd number, like 12:05 or something." I remember just staring at the number. I was like, "Do I have Q-Tip's number in my phone right now?" Like, it took me a minute for me for it to compute. And I remember I just couldn't go to sleep that night. I was like, "Yo, either this is gonna be the greatest prank of all time, or I'm actually gonna talk to fucking Q-Tip on the phone. This is gonna be crazy." So I woke up extra early. I woke up like I was going to a job interview. Like I was like, I woke up. I woke up looking in the mirror like Issa Rae and Insecure, like trying to like go over about what I was gonna say. And I remember 12:05 came. I called the number, and I just remember it rang for a long time. Like it was like 100 rings, or felt like 100 rings. Then like on like the 12, like whatever ring it was, the phone picked up, and it was like, "Yo, I'm listening to a Tribe Called Quest record." Like the voice that y'all hear on the
Wow.
record is on the other end of the phone. Like, "Hello." I was like, "Yo, fucking Q- this is fucking Q-Tip." I'm like, "Holy shit!" And then it's like when you caught off guard, you start stuttering. I was like, um,
Uh-huh.
hey, but hey, hello, this is us. This is Spree. Hey, how you doing? Um,
Trying to get your voice deep.
yeah. And he's like, "Oh man, Spree, what's up? Yo, I want to tell you your music jamming. Like I love it. Check this out. I'm in the airport right now with Kanye and Jeezy. We're about to do a show in Japan, but when I get back, I want to talk to you and figure something out, you know?" And he's like, "Yo, call me in like He called me like 13 and a half days or something like that. It was something weird.
You counting the
And I was
calendar? All
like,
right, let me
yeah, bro, like you know them cartoons when they're in jail, they put the little numbers out. I mean days are in jail. Yo, I was literally in the house like, okay, day number 2, day number 3. Whatever the days passed, and I ended up giving him a call. And man, he sounded like he was in a really bad mood, man. He was like, hey man, I ain't really got nothing for you. I'm gonna call you when I do. And then he just hung up. I was like, damn, well, shit, I guess that was it. I guess
Damn,
that was
man.
it. Like shit.
13 days
I
for
said,
this.
hey, like, you win some, you lose some.
Dang it.
Yo, so so then like man, some time went by, like a month later, and I had gotten my first apartment. It was like the size of like a janitor's closet, but it was a friend of mine. Another serendipity. I was on the train because I had to get off my friend's couch, you know. And I'm probably skipping some parts too, but like I was on the train again, and somebody whose club in Atlanta I used to perform at called Cincy. He's a painter as well. His name is Andre. He was on the train, and he was like, man, I was really sad. I was like, he's like, man, what's going on? I was like, yo, man, I don't know where I'm gonna live, man. Like, I gotta get out of this house by a certain time, and I don't have no apartment. And it's not like I have like a crazy amount of money too, you know what I mean? So he's like, yo, my friend has a small apartment on like the corner of Fulton and Franklin or whatever. And he's like, yo, it ain't crazy, but like he'll let you stay there. And I was like, shit, can I go check it out? So I went to go check it out. And I mean, it was like super. I'm talking about like when I say the size of a closet, I'm not using hyperbole. Like it's the size of the closet.
Mm.
Um, but I was like, shit, like I got a place to sleep, I got a place to rest, like it's all good. And I was literally sleeping on the floor. Like I was sleeping like you know with a pallet, like putting
Mhm.
clothes together. I'm stacking them
Yeah.
on top of each other, trying to make a little sleeping bag.
Yeah, get you some cushion.
um, yeah. So I had moved into that apartment. I got a call early in the morning, like 8 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, yo, this or like it may have been 7 o'clock in the morning. I was like, yo, who the fuck is calling me before business hours? This is crazy. Like 7 o'clock in the morning, like that's wild. And then I answered the phone and it was Q-Tip, and he was like, "Hey man, yo, I think I figured out what I want to do with your music. I want to start taking it to labels. Is that cool with you?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's cool with me. Yeah, like
Yeah.
whatever. Like do your thing." He's like, "Nah, we're gonna do it." I was like, "Okay, oh, when are we gonna do it?" He said, "Starting today. I'm coming to pick you up."
Dang.
Yeah,
Dang.
and so I think he ended up. Well, I ended up having to meet him at City Cafe in the city, and me and Dominique ended up going to eat with him. And that day, like we went to every label. Like I met L.A. Reid. I met every single president of every label. Sylvia Rone. We hit everybody in one day, and this was all impromptu. Like he didn't schedule any meetings. He was just like,
Just
"Yo,
pulled
I'm
up.
Q-Tip. Um, I have somebody I want you to hear."
Dang.
That was a wild day. That was
So, but leading up to that, like I know that moment was probably like a ray of hope for you. But leading up to
Mhm.
that, from the morning, from the night before, to like time you got off the train, like had you felt like, dang, I might have I might have messed up here, or like, did you feel like you made a mistake in any way, or like, dang, this ain't working out
hell
like
no.
I thought so? No.
Hell no. Hell no.
Mm,
I was in New York City. I'd already taken the big leap. For me,
mm,
that's just my mindset was like, you're already in New York. Like you're here. Whatever you need is in this city. Everybody comes here. All the labels are here. This is before I even met Q-Tip. I was just my whole mindset was like, every label's here. Every person needs or wants to come to New York. If
mm,
you just put yourself in position. So I was just a naturally good networker too. Like I'm just a naturally just I can have conversations with anybody, and I just like to meet people in general. And so I was like, man, bro, it's just your personality. Like you're awesome. Like you got an infectious personality. Just go and talk to people, make people laugh. Like you're good. And
mm,
so I figured that, man, I've already done half of the work by being in the city where things happen. So I didn't there wasn't enough time that had went by for me to even start to feel like it wasn't going to work. Because you got to think, like, I was in New York for 2 weeks, sleeping in a train station. Then 2 weeks later, I was on the couch, and then that week I get a call to call Q-Tip. Then call him 13 days later, which is like almost like going into a second month. And then he says, there's nothing for me. And then I get an apartment. I thought I wasn't going. I didn't know if I was going to figure out another place to stay. Then I ended up getting an apartment. That was serendipity again. And then he ended up calling me. So it was like 3 months of like just excitement of just like kind of like flying by the seat of my pants. So I didn't really have time to like. There wasn't these elongated times of like 8 months of like nothing happening, of just like,
Mm.
man, like I don't think it's gonna work out. It was just bong, 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 bong. And in the meantime, I'm just like new to New York. So like I'm in the city charming like all the girls. Like I was like I'm having the time of my life, bro. Like is
Mm.
like music was my the forefront of my mind, but like also you gotta think like I'm new here. Like so like I'm having the time of my life. It's the summertime too, bro. I moved in the summertime. I moved in the best time you can move to New York. So I'm just
Mm.
exploring, meeting people, making friends. Like, yeah, I didn't have time to think like it wasn't gonna work out,
Mm. Mm.
and
That's such a
then
nice
so I,
mindset to have about it. A lot of people would have
and
been like a weekend and been like, man, I don't know. But it's nice. Like you truly found fun in the process, it sounds like.
yeah, this is also before I mean, social media was there, obviously, but like this is before this idea that everything has to be immediate. You put out a song and you have to see immediate results. You have to like you put out something and something has to be like that day. Things just don't happen like that. Things take time, and in the meantime, you can just enjoy life. It's just there's worse things to be sad over, opposed to like things not going your way at the very moment that you want it to happen. Not saying I haven't been discouraged in my life, because that would be a lot too. But I just I just realized that I have a sometimes unrealistic timeline about the way things happen. Just like every human being, if we were to just relax a little bit, things will probably feel faster than what they were. When you want something really bad, everything feels like it's going slow. Every other time it just feels like it's just not happening. But when you just let go, all of a sudden it's like, damn, like the thing I was looking for just came. That's crazy. It's just it just has life just has a tendency to play this because you're just not concentrating on it. Think about the time where you're working a job. Everybody's worked a job where they've looked at the clock for, and it feels like the clock is just moving slow, as opposed to just when you're just concentrating on everything that's going around you. You're like, damn, 6 hours went by hella quick. That's crazy. You know what I mean? So you can sit there and look at the clock, or you can busy yourself doing something else.
Mm. You told me about the events that happened that day. You were running around the city with Q-Tip. You're going and you're meeting these labels and these presidents. What's going on in your head though? Like what you thinking about? Like what's your like expectations and your hopes? Or like are you just shocked, stun locked? What's inside?
Nah, man, I'm having the time of my life, because it still doesn't feel real. Like it doesn't feel real because I grew up listening to Tribe Called Quest. So it's just like, yo, I'm walking into a room with Q-Tip, and Q-Tip is introducing me. I don't know if I had an expectation, or I didn't even have a preference of what label I wanted to be on. It wasn't really any time to even think like that. I was just in the moment. I was just there. And so that was the only thing that was going through my head. I was just like, yo, this is wild. Like, this is crazy. Like I'm riding in his car, we're listening to music. Like, I don't know, like I don't know how many people will ever get a chance to meet their heroes, or people that they looked up to. But I'm just telling you that if you meet them in a similar capacity, everything feels surreal. It doesn't feel like a reality in which you're in. It just feels like something totally different. And so I'm just there. I'm just like taking it all in. I'm in buildings I've never been before. I'm walking into like these labels. I'm like, damn, I didn't even have to do something like how I did with Dallas. I didn't even have to like figure out a way to try to get up in here. It's just like it was just easy. It's just like, I'm walking in with somebody who's, has a legacy behind them.
So what followed after that day? You know, you go around, you meet everybody. I'm sure he probably drops you off back at home, and then what?
Nah, he dropped us off at the train station.
Oh.
Back to reality, buddy. What happened after that? We get a call back from Jive, and they were like, "We really like Spree. We want him to audition." So there's time that happens between this. This isn't immediate callback. This is like a couple more months that happen, you know. But eventually, like Jive calls and they want me to do audition. And at this time, like we're getting to more the winter time, and I had never experienced a New York winter before, and it got really cold. And I remember I had strep throat. Actually, let me take it back. Before I got strep throat, there was some meetings set up with Job that I was supposed to come and audition, but they just kept getting canceled. So like we had 4 canceled auditions. Not from our end, but they would schedule them like, yo, we like the president can't be there. Can we schedule it this time? And then they would cancel again and they would schedule it again. So like it got to a date and it just so happened that the date that they wanted to audition, I had strep throat. I had like 140-degree temperature. And my manager was like, "Do you want to reschedule?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "Yo, this would be the 5th reschedule, and no like there's no telling if they'll ever, if we cancel it, if they'll ever schedule put it back on the schedule." So I was like, "Yo," I was like, "All right, I'm gonna have to do this." And so I was at the tail end of strep though, so I don't think it was like I don't think it was still um contagious, but I still had my temperature.
Mhm.
I ended up going to the office. And man, I was like, I was, I was cooked, man. Like I don't even know where I found the energy. But
Mm.
I had to go into this boardroom, and it was this long ass table, and it was just like all the A&Rs sitting at this table, and the president at the time, his name was Barry Weiss, and I had to audition, man. I had my guitar, and I was playing my heart out, boy. Like I had put my little amp, I was like doing all type of Hendrix stuff. I was playing the guitar behind my back. Like I was just kind of just pulling out every trick I had. Um, Singing, rapping, like all these songs I had written. And then after the performance, he asked me a few questions like, who are your influences? And I told him like, I grew up on like Outkast, I grew up on like Hendrix, Tribe Called Quest, obviously, grew up on like Fleetwood Mac, Funkadelic, all that stuff. He's like, all right, cool. Like, we'll be in touch. And then I remember walking out of that boardroom, finding an empty office, closing the door, turning lights off, and passing out. I woke up like
Mm.
3 hours later, 3 or 4 hours later. I was so sick. And I given everything I had to that audition. And then like a month later, maybe not even a month, maybe a few weeks later, they were like, "Yo, we love Spree. We want to give them a deal." So that was my first like major label deal.
Mm. And you know, it's like you finally, struck oil out there, you know?
Hmm.
How's that feel for you in that moment, as you get there and you're like, man, this it's finally happened. A lot of people do this and like they'll never find that, you know?
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
like how's that land on you at that time?
Well, I think a couple of things were happening in my head. Like, I think the first thing was, man, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. Like, I knew it. I knew that I knew that everybody couldn't be delusional and lying to me. Because like it's like when you hear people like you're so talented, you don't sometimes like unless you know it within yourself, which I did, like it could come off as like, man, maybe people are just lying to me. You know what I'm saying? Maybe people just tell me what you want to hear. But when I got the deal, I was like, yeah, nigga, you knew it. You knew it. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is just like how grateful I was to actually have done it. How blessed I was because, like you said, like this all happened in the span of I moved in June. Like I was offered a deal by the winter time. You know what I mean? I had met Q-Tip. Like so much stuff had happened between June and November. Like so I was just so grateful because I know that like in another person's timeline that doesn't happen that way. I was just grateful. I was grateful, and I was also sitting in the space of like, yeah, like yeah, of course this happens because you know not only are you talented, but you also worked hard to be here, and you also took the risk. Like you're literally a person who just walks on faith. Like I am the epitome of just walking off the cliff and hoping that there's a trampoline at the bottom and
Mm,
not rocks.
mhm.
Like so it's just like you walk off when you walk on in that space, then a lot of magical things can happen.
Like, what happened after that, and how does the story continue on into now?
Oh man, so much happened between there and now. So like I got signed. The deal wasn't fantastic, so it wasn't like this lucrative deal. It wasn't even a necessarily monetarily life changing. It was the only reason I took the deal, and this is a discussion I had with Tip too. I was like, hey man, like I'll be in the building. I'll be in the building. Like that's all that mattered to me at the time. Like and the deal wasn't like it wasn't one of these deals where it's gonna lock me in for 20 years. It was like a super simple deal, but it wasn't like something that gave me like buku money. You know what I mean? And so my whole attitude was like, I'm gonna be in the building. That's the most important part because I'm about to meet the people. And again, my life is built on the things that I learned in the past, which is basically the same kind of concept I took from being in Dallas space. Like what is the internship going to do? It's just like most of my friends were like, I'm an artist. Why would I need an internship? I'm just going to try to get a deal. But my thought was like, an internship puts me in the building. Like I'm around these people every day, so I have more opportunities to reach my goals as opposed to if I'm outside the building and then I have to figure out how to get in the building, how to get hurt or whatever. So my whole focus was like, yo, they're gonna bring me in and they're gonna pay for me to write songs. Like this is a win. This is
Mhm.
a win-win. No matter if the deal is fantastic or not. So I ended up signing the deal, and I ended up just writing a whole bunch of songs. At the time, my label mates were people like Miguel. There were Usher, Justin Timberlake. The person who signed me, my A&R, was the person who signed Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake, Too Short. No, I think Jeff Sledge signed Too Short. My A&R may have signed UGK. But there was a lot of people on my label, you know what I mean? So I got cool with like Miguel and all these people at my label. And I
Crazy.
met I met everybody in the building. Like my whole goal was to walk around to every office and introduce myself. Like, hey, what's up? My name is Bree Wilson. I'm an artist here. I heard you're doing my radio. Cool. Can you tell me what radio does? Can you show me what's the process of that? I go to the marketing department. Hey, how you doing? My name is Bree Wilson. I'm an artist here. I heard you're doing my marketing. Can you show me what the marketing department does? Like, how does that work? Go to the art direction office. Same question, and each person would just walk me through the process. Like I literally learned how a major label worked by being an artist there. I just like I would go there, just sit in the office and ask them to explain what they do to me. That's how I knew the intricacies of what every department did. So like there, there wasn't I didn't live in a la la land of like, oh, you write a song and it automatically becomes a hit. That's not how it happens. Like there's a process in which you take it to a mix show, it does well in mix show, then you pay for advertising behind it, then they put in some kind of rotation, then they let the Nielsen right, they let the Nielsen people determine like how many times does people turn their station off or turn it to a different station when your song comes on. All that stuff determines how a song ends up in rotation. I just thought that if you write a good song, it just becomes a hit, and that's just not how it is. What I'll end up learning, I would just write songs all the time. They send me to different places, different cities. Maybe a few months after I got signed, Barry and the president ended up leaving the company, and so we didn't have a president. So it was a no man's land. Like there was no decisions getting made, no checks
Mm.
getting cut. There was a rumor that RCA was going to come and they were going to swallow up Job. They were going to determine RCA was going to determine if they were going to drop the artist or keep them. I was like, oh shit, like I don't know what's going to happen. And then I remember I had a meeting with the president of RCA, me and my manager, and he, first of all, he came hella late to the meeting, which was already a bad sign for me. I
Mm.
was like, oh, I think I'm gonna get dropped.
Oof.
I think I'm getting dropped. And then I remember playing one song from my album that I've been working on. He walked out of the room to like go to the bathroom in the middle of the song.
Oh.
I remember looking at my manager. I was like, "Hey, dog, we gonna have to figure out a parachute situation."
You want to chalk this up?
Um, yeah. So we end up leaving the building, and me and my manager had a conversation. And we're like, "All right, cool. In case they drop you, we need to figure out a different situation." So I had written this song called "The Spark," which ended up becoming a huge hit. But at the time, it was my single. It was a song I wrote for myself. My manager went to every publisher in New York City. Again, this is why living in New York was so important. He went to every office in New York, every publisher, EMI, Sony, Universal, and was like, "Yo, check it out. My artist is signed to," because they didn't know I was getting dropped. You know, I didn't even know I was getting dropped there. But so technically, I was still on a label. They were like, "Yo, my artist is on Jive. He might be going to RCA, and this is his first single." And they were playing the Spark, and that song, obviously, it was such a hit. Like, it hadn't even come out yet, but people could hear that. It's like, yo, this record is a smash. Like, this is gonna be your first
Mhm.
single, and it was an instant bidding war. So like, there was a bidding war between Sony, EMI, and Universal, and so right before I got dropped, I ended up signing to Universal for like the most money I ever seen in my life at that time at least. And then they heard the news like 2 weeks later. It's like, "Oh yeah, the artist got dropped."
Yeah.
But I was already signed at that time. They already paid me the money,
It wasn't even
and
nothing to
so
you.
yeah. But then I had to figure out how I was gonna pay it back, right? Because like, you didn't give me all this money, and you're not on a label, and it's just like, well, how the fuck you gonna get this money back? And
Mm.
that's when I had to hustle, really hustle. Okay, I'm not on the label anymore, but again, I'm in another building. I'm signed to Universal. I have access to a totally different building because Job is in the Sony building. So I'm like, okay, cool. So Universal at the time had writers' rooms. So every day I as soon as I got signed to Universal, I treated going to Universal like a job, like being a songwriter like a job. Like, I would go to Universal every day at from 9 to 5 and write a song every
Mm.
day. And then after I wrote a song, I figured out that in the building on other floors, there was a different label on every floor, and all I needed was an access key, and my A&R had an access key. So I would just say, "Hey, can I use your key to go to the bathroom?" And she was like, "Yeah, take my
Run up.
key." And I would just use the key to go to every floor, and every floor from like Universal Republic to Island Def Jam to every Universal music label I would go to, and I would find all the A&Rs, and I would introduce myself. I was like, "Hey, how you doing? My name is Spree Wilson. I'm a songwriter, Sonic Universal. Um, I know you probably have a whole bunch of artists. If you have any artists in these songs, I'm writing songs every day." And it was like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm downstairs every day writing songs." And they was like, "Yeah, come, like, when you get something, just come to the office." And I had built a rapport with every A&R in the building. By the end of the month, I knew every A&R by name. And so every day I would write a song, and then I try to do a rough mix on it, and I would just go play it for every A&R. I'm like, "Yo, I know you got this artist. You think this song would be good for them?" And 9 times out of 10, they would be like, "Yo, this song is great, but it just sounds like you. It sounds like a you song. Like, it doesn't sound like," because
Mm.
I could really only write like for me, you know. They was like, "Yo, this song is great, but like, it's so unique to you. Like, I don't know if it's right for my artist." And then like, man, I think like maybe 6 months into 6 to 8 months into like being signed to Universal, I feel like I was just like not getting any. I wasn't getting as many placements that I liked. I had done some stuff with Kanye that was cool, but I hadn't like had like a smash hit or anything. And I remember going to A&R, and he was A&R for this artist called Afrojack, and Afrojack had this was his first major label deal with Island Def Jam, and he was like, "Yo, Afrojack is looking for a song that kind of sounds like this." And kind of what he was describing was kind of, I don't know if you remember that song by Avicii with Aloe Black, that kind of like, "Don't wake me up if we get older." Da, da, da,
Mhm.
da, da. Kind of like had like a hold down type of vibe.
Mhm.
Well, the Spark wasn't a hold down record, but it had the same kind of rhythm. It had like that kind of acoustic, jangly vibe to it.
Mhm.
And he was like, "Yeah, but it needs like some like a person rapping on it." I was like, oh, I got the perfect song. So I played him the Spark. And he's like, yo, this is literally perfect. I just had to
Mm.
play it for Afrojack and see if he likes it. But this is amazing. So he played it for Afrojack, and this is when I saw the power of a hit record. He played it for Afrojack, and in like a few days they were like, yeah, this is gonna be his first single. It wasn't a long thought out process. It was like, yo, this song's a hit. I played it for him. He loves it. Okay, this is the first single. And then and then from there it's just like cool. And like in a month we're gonna shoot the video. We're gonna fly to Vegas and we're gonna shoot this video. And then you're gonna be performing in front of like 10,000 people in Amsterdam for ADE. And then you're gonna be performing, you're doing a show at their arena in Amsterdam in front of 17,000. And you're gonna be performing in front of there. Oh yeah, this song is like the theme song for the MTV EMA, so you're gonna be performing for that too. Oh yeah, it's the theme song for the Golden Globes, so you're gonna be going to the Golden Globes and talking to them too. Like yo, it was like it was it was it was it was like that.
Dang.
It was insane, you know. And that record ended up being like a top 10 hit in 13 countries, you know. And it got so big and overseas, I ended up living in London because it eventually reached like the top 10 in their top one in their like their kind of Billboard 100, but it's like the number 5 dance record over there. So I ended up living in London for a while just because like I got
Mm.
so much business over there. Like, and plus I was doing, because the song was such a massive hit, especially in Europe, I was I was living in London and I was doing a show in different countries every weekend. So I was like, I had a booking agent out of Europe. So like it was like, yeah, you're gonna do a
Oh
club
yeah.
date. You're gonna do a club date for like 10,000 in Finland on this day, and then next week I'm doing another club date in like Berlin for like another 10. And it's just
Eating.
like your life. It's just like crazy. It's crazy. End up doing work with more artists, from everybody from Tiana Taylor to Jadena to John Legend. End up putting up more of my own records, like this song called Counterfeit, which became really successful for me. And then, the pandemic hit, and just doing more work between those times. Then the pandemic hit, and my grandmother was living in Atlanta by herself. She was 92 at the time.
Mhm.
And so I didn't want my grandmother to have to, be able, like going outside or whatever. So I ended up subleasing my apartment and moving back to Atlanta and becoming her official caretaker during the pandemic. So,
Mm.
and then during the pandemic is kind of when I start writing some of the songs or coming up with some of the ideas for the new project that I have now.
Man. So, man, so many questions. So for one, the you ended up making more songs and working with people, um, after your time in London, or maybe during the time in London, with like more just like big celebrities, big names in the industry. Were there any new consistencies that you found amongst these people versus like when you were working with Dallas Austin, his studio?
Yeah, those people, the people in Europe, they make sure that they put a significant amount of time into rest. It wasn't American burnout.
Mm.
Like people in Europe, they know how to appreciate like your body and your mind and your rest. So it wasn't let's work till the wee hours of the night. Sometimes some sessions were like that, but it was it was very much like kind of regimented. Like let's work until this time, and then let's go get something to eat, and then let's go home and go to sleep or whatever.
Mm.
Like get some rest and then come back. And that was something that I just hadn't really experienced in America, because America was just like, I'm gonna write all night. I'm gonna write 10 records, and I'm just gonna keep going until my body can't go anymore.
Mm.
And you're prioritize a different way of living, which really, I really appreciate and admire.
Are there any of those types of practices that you still keep up now?
Yeah, when I'm writing, I write during the day. Don't I don't I tend not to do late night sessions. Um, if I'm doing something in the late night, it's not something that needs real brain power. It's like playing or just experimenting. it's not anything that really I need to be thinking about. Like when I'm writing, like I need 100% of my brain to work in order for me to express myself in a way that, and I feel like, comes across the best way. And sometimes I negated that when I was younger. It's just like, cool, we'll start a session at 9 p.m. It's like, man, my brain has been working all day. So by the time I get to the session at nighttime, I'm burnt out. Then we're drinking. It's just like, it's just not conducive to, for me at the point. Like, some people can work like that. I know a lot of people who work in that environment, but I think what's best for me is just starting at like 1, starting at noon.
Hmm.
I mean, you start in the morning if possible. Really, we could start like at 10 or 11, but like latest noon or 1, and then work to like 6, and like you have like the rest of your life. You don't have to. You don't have to. You don't have to feel like you need to spend like fill your whole time up with just creativity and music specifically for me. Like, because what fuels my art is living my life. It isn't just staying in a studio or in a room making until I'm just burnt out. It's making, then going out, experiencing life, hearing stories, experiencing stories, seeing things, and then coming back with something to write about.
I mean, you were literally writing them every day. That was like in your introduction
Yeah, New
as
York.
somebody.
When I was in New York, I was writing a song. Well, I mean, like, that's why I could write a song at Universal every day, because when I was living in an apartment, I was like just waking up in the morning, picking up an acoustic guitar and just opening my voice memo app and just writing
Mhm.
a song every day. Even to the point where, like, when I got signed to Job, they were like, I told them like, yo, I have already like 60 or 70 songs written. And I would just play them all these acoustic demos. They're like, yo, you got all these songs written already? I was like, yeah, I write every day, you know?
It's
So it's
out
just
here.
like, yeah.
Man, like I grew up, I was a band kid. Like I played saxophone going through like middle school, high school. But in terms of writing music, I could play off of a sheet of music. But I never had the musical like creation muscle, like to even in jazz band, like when it's solos, like that solo ain't written, well, it's trouble for me, you know. And I'm even less savvy with words as well. And like I'm at the point now where I'm starting to kind of dive into comics and I'm getting a little bit more into writing and my dialogue. I'm challenged with like trying to express a particular sensation or a moment or a thought. Um, do you have any sort of like pointers or like some homework for people who are looking to translate their feelings and thoughts into words?
Every morning I do a 10-minute writing exercise. I, I prescribe this for everybody who wants to be a writer. This is an exercise I learned by a teacher by the name of Pat Pattison, who teaches at Berkeley, and it's called object writing or sensory writing. So every morning, every morning, it should be like one of the first things you do when you wake up, because according to science, like that's when your mind is in its most non-judgmental state. When you wake up, you open a notebook and you date it, whatever the date is, and you write out the five senses plus the two kinesthetic senses, which is the senses is like touch, taste, smell, touch, taste, touch, taste, smell, sight, touch, taste, smell, sight.
Hearing.
Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna get my notebook. I'm gonna let you know. So like, yeah, I'm not. I practice what I preach, so I'm not. This is not. So it's sight, yeah, sight, sound, touch, taste, smell, and the other two extra senses are body and motion. So basically, like how your body feels. So like your stomach in knots, your heart beating at 100 miles per hour, things like that. Motion is basically the motion of a body or motion of something. Your feet moving at a fast pace, your arms swinging from side to side, fingers dancing in the air, all type of stuff like that. And basically what you want to do is you want to pick an object, right? So like, for instance, so the first page, I'll just go by the first. The first thing I picked was hand. Like, so that's a object. So then I set a timer for 10 minutes, and then I just write from a sensory standpoint. So I'll read to you guys what I wrote, so you can kind of get an idea of what I mean by sensory. So it says firm grip, twisting knobs, crackling vinyl, spill from the speakers. Eyes stare at spinning records. Sweet donut frosting, coat tongue. Smell of fresh bread floats in the chilly air. Goosebumps dance on skin. Muscles jolt with excitement. Grid lines confuse the eyes. Sharp pen scrapes across paper. Fingers press against notebook. Cold water marches between cheeks. The smell of love is strong. Knees bend to make space. Sandals adorn feet. Two step to jazz tunes. So instead of saying I turn the stereo speaker up, it's just like they're really describing like the sensory, the action behind it, you know? Um,
Mm.
let me see if I can find another one. Yeah, like this one is the word was cheetah. So like tall blades of grass sway back and forth under the hot jungle winds. Large feline paws crept forward like with a snellish whisper. Her purring vibrations shake the ground below. The taste of human prey, too sweet to deny. The smell of pheromones enchanting her, stretching her to her core. Tiny birds swarm above in circular motion, hawking out warnings. It just like it's painting the picture of like the place, as opposed to just, yeah, I was in the jungle, I saw a cheetah, and she was hungry.
Yeah.
There's better ways to write. You know, there's better ways to kind of go in depth and to make the subject feel more lived in, as opposed to just like kind of being surface. So I do it every day. I've been doing that for like 7 years.
Damn.
So every morning,
Man.
just write. And some words end up repeating because there's only so. I mean, there's a lot of words in the world, but in your mind, it's like, damn, it's like you have to really think hard to figure out what object you're going to write about. So
Hmm.
I just do
And
that
then,
every day.
dang, and then, I mean, I'm sure it's something that you get better with over time, but like, where, I guess maybe through like reading or just hearing others, is where you can kind of expand your vocabulary. Because like, I would have never thought like cold water marching between cheeks is like that's like dang, like I would have never thought marching, is what I'm saying, and I guess that kind of stuff is maybe, like a mix of, like, exposing yourself to different writing and then also just, like,
Yeah, a
continuous
lot of books.
practicing.
Yeah,
Mhm,
just books, reading books. Yeah, I read all the time. Like I'm a voracious reader, so like
mhm,
I I grew up reading like like our we have a family full of educators, so it's just but reading books was so important growing up. So I'm always reading like preferably fiction books because they just kind of I like authors who paint different worlds and like who are able to put me in their like this thing that they've created because that's similar to what I do. Um, not that there's anything against nonfiction books, but I think I just prefer fiction books.
mhm,
Lots of poetry books, and then just movies. You like like anything really, other music. You know, reading their lyrics. Like I read a lot of uh, lyrics of the writers that I love, from Curtis Mayfield to again Andre 3000 to Kendrick to Bob Dylan to Stevie Wonder. You know, and everybody expresses themselves totally different, and a lot of them use words that are different, and so you're just kind of taking things that you pick up from different places, and you kind of applying them to that. And that's what I like about the writing exercise, because you that's the place you can apply so many different things. You can say like, instead of saying water is washing in my mouth, it's like, what word could I use that just it was just is a juxtaposition of something that's not supposed to be there, like water dances in my on my tongue like a silent whisper. You know what I'm saying? It's just like
mhm.
this kind of like use of language is just can be very poetic, and I really love that. And so that exercise is a good way to be able to express these ideas so that when you're taking them to different mediums, whether you're writing a script, whether you're writing a song, whether you're writing a comic book, whether you're writing a novel, like you're able to kind of have trained your brain to think in these ways to express things in a way that kind of gives it a little bit more depth and um, a little bit more of a lived in experience as opposed to just a surface level.
Absolutely. And I think it's also a nice, like, playful illustration slash exaggeration of the thing. It also,
Mhm.
like, it gives it so much more punch and flair,
Mhm.
to like imagine, oh, okay, water is swishing around. Okay, you see that. But then if it's like dancing, then you have
Mhm.
your own interpretation of those words too.
Yeah,
Dang.
yeah, because I like seeing words. Like I like seeing the thing. I always whenever I had sessions with, or whenever I have sessions with people, when we're writing a song, I always say, like, let's show them, let's not tell them. Like, what is showing somebody? What is like what kind of visual can I put? What does being sad look like as opposed to saying I'm hurt? Like, what does being hurt look like? What does it feel like?
Mm,
It feels like it feels like darkness covering me like a old wool coat. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just like
mm,
you visualize that like grief covering me like a wool coat. You know what I'm saying? Like you can visualize that as opposed to like I'm just sad my friend died. Like yeah, I mean like if your friend died, you can probably relate to it, but like if you can describe it in a way that's so visual and so like sensory overload, then I think it'll get across a lot better. And it's more creative to be able to describe things that way as opposed to just the typical I'm in love, I love her, she loves me. Like what does love feel like? like
mhm,
like in your own way, you know what I mean? And I
mm,
think that makes writing more fun to me because it's like everything's been written about, but nothing's been written about from my own perspective. There's a million songs about love, but there isn't a million Spree Wilson songs about love because I choose to describe it in a certain way, in a way that is creative and specific to my own personality.
Speaking of like expressing yourself, um, I know that we spoke yesterday about in our tester call about like learning to read the room or learning to read the world, learning to read what kind of like what you need to bring to the function, based on what's already there. And I ran through These Days Don't Last Long again a little bit earlier today, and it feels like all of those songs hit on specific niches. It felt like there's a cookout and they ask you to bring four things. And you're like, okay, I'm just gonna pick these four. I feel like y'all need all four of these, and in different ways. I feel like you hit just different little spots in the same, like, in today's ecosystem. And how long had you been at this, or like when did you start, like, okay, I want to put this together, or did they start as like a single here and then I'm gonna add another one? Oh, these actually kind of look good together, or how was the formation of this project?
That's an interesting question. I don't know if I ever truly know when I'm starting a project because I'm I'm, I'm kind of always writing. So like I was just writing songs. And then really it was after my grandmother passed away where I didn't even know if I wanted to do music, like that because my grandmother was like my biggest champion for music, like my grandmother was my biggest fan. She was the person who would call all her friends and let them know if like my song was getting played on TV or if I was getting played on the radio or if there was a new article that was released and she wanted all her friends to know about it. And so when she passed away, I was just like, man, like, what's like the use of doing it
Mm,
anymore? And so I was just trying to figure out ways to express the pain I was feeling. And so I was just picking up the guitar and just creating ideas, and every song was just about the sadness. It was like I wanted to, not because that was what naturally came out, but I just wanted to keep expressing it because I wanted to not bottle it up. Like I didn't want it to be a thing where like I'm 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 going into this dark place and I don't tell anybody about it. So like I said, remember at the beginning of our conversation was just sometimes I just write for myself, because I need to get something out. So essentially, like some of these songs started off as just me making things because I just needed to get something out of me. As time went by, there was an urge inside of me that maybe what I'm making could be of some use to somebody else, could be helpful to others. Be of because I'm always thinking about being of service too. How could I how could I use my music to be of service in service to the music, of service to others? And so that's when I kind of had a loose idea about like putting out a project. I think as time went by, more songs got written, and then um, I think the project kind of created itself. Like you just started kind of to see themes and connections to different songs, and I think it all started to make sense to me, and it told a story, which is what you want. And so when I put those four songs together, it felt like the story that I wanted to tell was 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 done was perfect within those four records. And so yeah, that was why I picked those four songs specifically.
Can you take us through the story that you're telling in this? I know that there's Out of the Darkness, there's Bad News, Shadows, and then Jackals. And um it feels like they hit different areas, but I'm not sure where like the narrative kind of flows in between. And that might
Mm,
just be like density on my part. I'm not saying
mhm.
that it didn't translate, but for um just to make it a little bit clearer, maybe have people like going in listening like with an understanding what kind of narrative is being pushed with this.
Cool. So I think sonically, sonically and lyrically, they take you on two different paths that end up in the same place. Musically, it starts off very somberish. So it's like it starts off out of the darkness. It starts off like trying to come out of the darkness, right? And then that song leads you to Bad News, and then it leads you to Shadows, and then it leads you to Jackals. And at the end of Jackals, it kind of has this moment at the end where the music kind of floats a little bit out. You know what I'm saying? Like it fades away. It's not like this hard stop. It's just kind of floating, rising to the top. You know what I mean? Um, and so musically, I wanted to kind of take people on a sonic journey of like you're starting at this one place, but you're moving out of the sadness into a more I don't want to use the word happier place, but more of a content place with where you are at the given time with your grief and your sadness. And and grief and sadness for me at the time making this record wasn't just about the passing of my grandmother, but it was the sadness of possible loss of identity. It was a sadness about what's going on in the world. It's a sadness about having to deal with my own inner demons and struggling with that. And so it's a story about a person's mind state and dealing with all these things at the same time, because that's what grief sometimes forces you to do. On top of that, being in a pandemic, you have nothing but time, and sometimes your mind has this way of like saying like, oh, okay, now as you're sitting down, like we're gonna tackle all these things at the same time. And so the sonic narrative is going out of the darkness into the light. You know, thematically, like I said, is this the album title is called "These Days Don't Last Long," and I think not to tell the listener what to do, but it's to think about each song as a snapshot of something that doesn't last forever. So grief over a passing relative doesn't last forever. The grief is always there, but the way you feel about it permeate not permeates, but it mutates throughout, you know, your time on this planet. So when a person dies that you're close with at the beginning, it is heavy. It hurts like hell. And not saying it hurts any less in 5 years or 10 years, because I still miss my grandmother, but the pain is not as sharp. It might be just a little. If it was a 10, it's about a 9 now, which again, it's
Mm.
not the same. You know, it's a that these days don't last long. This doesn't last forever. Is is a thing that's supposed to be applied to each song. So bad news, idea of like every day we're bombarded with war and we're bombarded with things that are happening in our society. Um, and so again, that doesn't last forever either. You know, like there can be a day where it's nothing but positivity, where you don't even know what's going on in the news or in the world. You know, Shadows is another song that's about the inner turmoil that you feel when you lose somebody in love and in a familial way. You know, there's whispers in the night, shadows on the move. There's whispers in the night, shadows on the move. Yeah, darkness on the phone line, and I've been here so long. You know, so long anyway. It's just, but that day's not gonna last long. You know,
Mhm.
like that sadness that you're going through is not gonna last long. And then Jackals is about tackling my own inner demons, my own vices. You know, there always is a price to pay. Romancing with the same mistakes. Don't let that jackal out the cage. Burn down the barn and light the way. You know,
Mhm.
sometimes you got to burn down the place in which your demons are to go forward. You know, again, what you're going through at that given moment and the struggles that you're dealing with isn't going to last always. You know, these days don't last long. It's going to there. You have to have faith that there is a better day tomorrow, and if not tomorrow, the day after, and if not the day after that. But it doesn't last forever. That's the story I'm trying to tell with each song. Is I highlight a different part of the things that go on in my mind and things that I struggle with. But at the end of the day, these days don't last long, and I will get through it. And hopefully, there's somebody who listens to the project that resonates with these themes and these things that I'm saying, and they come out of the other end knowing that.
It's a beautiful message to put out, and I think that you do so well across these 4 songs. And I noticed that, um, not so much in Bad News, but in the other 3 songs, you've got these, like, I don't know what the musical term for it is, but it's like these 40 seconds to a minute of just like a jam, like just this
Mhm.
it's just instruments, it's just and they're beautiful. It was such a nice it felt like kinda going out of a tunnel into, like, a clearing, and it's just, like,
Mhm.
vibes, and I've roller skated to these songs too, like, I have them in my
Oh,
headphones as
really?
I'm yeah, I go skate, like, once or twice a week, and, like, that I know, I think it's, in the end of Shadows
Uh-huh.
when
With
the flute
the
starts,
flute thing? Yeah.
that's lit. That's like, man, sometimes I like to just sometimes I'll just fast forward right to that part because it's just
Man, that's
it's
cool.
that nice.
That's dope.
Yeah. I was there a specific like was it just you just wanted that in there because it was tight or was is that supposed to mean something as well along with the story and with the message?
Yeah, it's the chance of freeness, man. Like when you're a musician and everybody when you're doing improv, it's a space of freedom because there is no wrong, there is no right. It's just pure expression. So each one of those songs that you named was all based in improv. This guitar solo on "Out of the Darkness" is just one take. It's the first take I did, and it was all improv. I didn't write anything before. I didn't even know I was going to do a solo until I sat down. I was like, oh, I think this song may need a solo. And me and my co-producer Brandon, which recorded, that's the solo that came out. The flute was my good friend, my brother Nikayo, and he came over and he did like 3 takes, and that's all just improv, no pre-written. The end of Jackals is again like just improv, soloing, talking, like playing how I felt. And I think unlike most, and like any of the music I've written before, this is the first time I've ever put dedicated space to just music and no vocals, you know. And I think it needed that, these songs specifically, because I think my thought process is that sometimes what I want to say may not translate with words. It may only translate with music. Sometimes you can hear something that somebody plays and you get it. You get it. You hear the pain. Like Jimi Hendrix didn't need to put vocals over Machine Gun. I knew exactly what he meant and what he felt when he's playing his heart out talking about Vietnam. Like he didn't say anything about Vietnam, but you could hear it. You could hear the bodies falling. You could hear the machine guns blasting. You could hear the bombs hitting the concrete. Like you heard all that just through his playing, and I appreciate that. I wanted people to be able to experience that in some form of fashion through my music, not always through just the lyrics bombarding you. Even though the lyrics aren't like just telling you about sadness, but it's just there need to be other aspects to the music besides like vocals or whatever.
And definitely, like, listening to you explain it, it definitely makes sense, and I think that it served its intention with me without even realizing, 'cause it was times where it's just like, 'cause sometimes I just wanna hear that and skate, and it's just like, that's just me. I just wanna, like, go out and just kinda express myself, and this helps me get to that place, or, like, maybe it feels like I'm doing that alongside you in the song, and it also can serve as, like, a nice moment to breathe after the listeners digested, like, sometimes heavy or darker, words, and then they're able to just, like, take a second and breathe before the next song comes through, and so,
Yeah, because we
yeah.
don't we don't we don't have enough music. Uh, we don't have enough music that does that. In contemporary music, unless it's jazz or instrumental music or something like that. For the most part, you get 3 minutes and 30 seconds of just nothing but beats and
Yeah.
lyrics, 808s, and it's just you never get a chance to breathe. It's like, okay, cool, we're on to this, we're done with this song, on to the next song. Music that I really love and cherish and that I appreciate the most are music that kind of has a full story. That's also storytelling in music too. Yeah, when I'm thinking about, like, especially a song like Shadows, you have the main part, but then you have this whole kind of just second half that kind of just tells its own story in the way that the rhythm hits and the way that the different instruments come in and what's playing and the different instruments and what they're playing and what the flute is doing on top of that. Like you said, it gives the music a chance to breathe and it gives you a chance to think about maybe what you heard before or how you feel about it. It gives you a chance to kind of sit on your own thoughts and your own feelings as opposed to just be always telling you what's going on lyrically.
That's truly just it's truly amazing, just to, like, just to hear it, and it's from somebody who struggles to create things in that medium. It's just like to see it done so tastefully and so intentionally, and I mean, even listening to all the different instruments, because there were times where, like, I had it playing on the laptop, or there were times where I had it, like, in the over ear headphones, and depending on the quality of whatever I was listening to them on, I'm hearing more and more stuff. I'm like, "Dang, he had this in there too. God dang, he put this over here." And it's like every single one of those got put in there on purpose, and, it's just really amazing to see, like, I don't know, it's something that feels, like, timeless. It feels very, like, this will always work, like, this will always do the job. Like I was saying, like biscuits, like you don't ever outgrow biscuits. This will always hit.
Going to the studio with intention and with a bigger purpose beyond yourself, then hopefully you can land in that somewhere in that region of it feeling like something that a much more uh, lasting quality than somebody just going in and making a song for the moment. You know?
And in terms of in terms of the visuals for this project, you had it was such a strong visual, like, I mean, the red, I mean, big white pants, or like the I even watched the video for Out of the Darkness, and then like when you had like the strong red hat, like were there any intentions that you had visually? Were these nods to things or odes to another theme, or subtle messaging that people could pick up on in the project through the
Yeah.
visuals?
So everything, all the colors were intentional. Everything I wear is intentional. While once I figured out what I was that this was going to be a project, I created a kind of a deck, a visual deck that kind of was a roadmap for me. So picked color palettes, picked fonts, picked artwork ideas, picked, figured out visual aesthetics or visual ideas, rough visual ideas. Um, Thought about what I was going to wear because I just kind of like uniformity. And when I think about the color red, I think about love, but I also think about anger. I think about pain. I think about bleeding yourself, and like that brings me to a whole different idea of like bleeding yourself on the page, exposing yourself in a different way. And so the color red was just really important to me in this project because it felt like I was bleeding my pain out. I was bleeding the feelings and emotions that I had inside of me into the music. So that's why the color of red was so important. And then also having these other kind of juxtaposed colors like white, which is more of a lighter color, which is, what that color resonates like holiness and kind of purity and this idea of lightness to it. And so you kind of bring this red and white thing together. And what I see personally, visually in my mind is like, okay, here's like the kind of like the blood of everything, but this is like what happens when you get done with this. Is like it also goes into these days don't last long because when you come out of that, then you kind of have cleared yourself of that, or at least you're hoping to clear yourself out of that. And so I think that's why those colors were intentionally placed in different parts of the artwork. I hope I answered the question. I think I asked the question. I'm not sure. But yeah, just like, and I also, on top of it, I just like stark images, like the cover of the art. Um, a friend of mine said it looked like a Western cover. And I just always like striking imagery. So things that just feel like a lot of negative space and things that are just in your face that are just bold. And so I think having a bold image and then having really bold colors just really makes somebody at the very least wonder what the music sounds like. You would hate to like put out something with you have a great music and then you put out the cover and it's like it just does it's
Nobody's
not
studying.
inviting it's not inviting at all. It doesn't have any mystery, it doesn't have any kind of depth to it. So I wanted to create something that had a little bit of depth, a little bit of mystery, and made somebody who was seeing it for the first time ask themselves, what does the music sound like?
I definitely think that you accomplished that too, because it was like, I mean, even just if you put that color red, man, you put that up against like, this list, especially nowadays, a lot of people are looking at it like through streaming services and stuff. And so, you see that red against all these other colors, like even if they don't check it, they'll see it,
Mhm.
and then it's just subtle, like subtle attention grabbing thing. I'm a little bit more comfortable in that realm, like when it comes to like stronger colors or like what's gonna like I always say grab the eyes by the shirt is what I say. Is
Mhm.
like just inviting them in visually. Like even this poster right here is one that's like super, super strong. And like I think that's why I put it right there because it's like not only is it very striking and like it gets your
I
attention,
mean,
but then it's like
yeah, that's the first thing you see. It's such a bold, and the fonts are bold, um, and the color is bold, and yeah, it just lets you know what the person you're talking to is about. You know, it kind of tells a story. It kind of introduces you without having to introduce you. Like, here's what I do. You know.
Mhm. And then I see it like a reminder. I get up and I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's telling me what to
Mm-hmm.
do, like, "Alright,
Mm-hmm.
fine."
Mm-hmm.
What do you think was the biggest source of this can be a was or an is, the biggest source of friction in the in your creative process? I hesitate to say the creation of this project because it sounds like you work and then you kind of assemble into a project because you're constantly working. You just kind of like, okay, I'm just going to put these things together. But in your work and in like your life and things like that, what do you think is like the biggest kind of uh hurdle that you kind of that you deal with creatively?
Self sabotage.
Mm. In what
Like,
way?
well, asking yourself, like, or like, I always have this fear, like, man, is this gonna be the best thing I ever come out with? Like, is this it?
Mm.
Is this, you know, um, and pushing through that and not being afraid to suck, which is a huge part about being a creative. It's just you're just gonna make some things that are just outright garbage,
Mm.
and it's okay because that's part of the process. But I think sometimes the friction comes in my mind where it's like, no, you don't want to suck though.
Mhm.
So sometimes not wanting to suck stops you or stops me from starting sometimes, right? So it's just like you avoid the start because you don't want the the end result to be terrible. So the best way to not make the end result terrible is not to start. So I think that's the biggest fight that I have in my mind on a consistent basis, which is like, hey man, you just gotta do it. You just gotta pick up the guitar and just write. You have no idea what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Um, you can't assume that it's gonna suck. You can't assume that it's gonna be amazing. Only thing you can assume is that you showed up for the day and you did something. You created something. I think that's the biggest thing that I deal with every day. It's just it's not a self confidence thing because I know that I'm a great writer. I know that I'm a great writer because I've written a lot of songs and I've written a lot of songs that suck. So that's the only reason why I'm good at something, because it's not because I have a batting average of 100%. It's just because I've done it enough times to have acquired a skill. But it still is like, damn, I don't want to be trash.
Yeah.
but but it's just like, it's a constant battle fighting with yourself. I think that's the biggest friction that I face.
I'd like to explore um your lens for like what you're looking at and what you're striving towards, like, today and tomorrow, just going into the future. And then I would also like to go into the direction of like making a living as a musician uh in today's climate. And then like how do you feel like for aspiring musicians? I know that the industry and the climate has changed a lot, from whenever you were coming up. And so like I'd like to know your approach to, if you had to start all over today, how you would go, or how much better or worse off do you think the up and coming generation of musicians are from like when you were coming up?
I think every generation has its own hurdles. The biggest hurdle that we had, like when I was a kid, compared to like if I'm a kid now. Like when I was a kid, the biggest hurdle that I had was meeting the people, especially if you're in a city where it doesn't have a huge music industry and there isn't anybody in your vicinity that does the same thing that you do on a much larger level. So I think that was the major hurdle that I had to deal with. And on top of that, like gatekeeping and all that stuff. I think it's a different beast in today's world. I will say the only thing that I think may be worse now is that the depreciation of music, and the depreciation of music and is how what people how people assign worth to music, like depreciation in that value. And then also the difference in the way that people listen to music now than when I was young, because everybody's streaming music. So, well, everybody's streaming music and no one has to pay for it. My belief is that you have a greater appreciation for the things that you pay for because you worked hard for money. You worked hard for the money that you made. So like whatever you put your money down, you're going to appreciate it a lot more. My grandma always told me this is a lesson that I just didn't realize until I had to pay bills, which is like, you don't like, I used to, when you're young, you keep all the lights on, you walk out of the room with the lights on, you don't even think about turning it off. You turn the water on, you go downstairs, you don't even think about turning the water off. And my grandma was like, yeah, you're gonna realize you're gonna have a greater appreciation for that when you get your own house. And it's like,
Mhm.
damn, when I'm paying for the bills, it's like, wait, hold on,
And then turn
hold
all
on,
this off.
hold
Turn
on,
all this
hold on,
off.
hey, energy bills too high. Like, and so what you put your hard-earned money towards, you have a great appreciation for. So when I was young and I bought a CD, and let's say the CD wasn't fantastic, I'm still gonna listen to the fuck out of it because I just spent $14 paying for the CD. So I'm gonna listen to it, I'm gonna study it, I'm gonna get all I can out of this music because I paid my money for it. The artists that I did pay for that it ended up being some of the biggest artists in the world, like the Outcasts and Fugees and Lauren Hills and Tribe Called Quest and Kendricks or whatever. Like these are the artists that I appreciate, and these are artists I became super fans of because I had to pay money to just gain access to their world. So buying a CD was a whole experience. You go to the store, you buy the CD, you go home, you unwrap it, you sit in the bed, you put your headphones on, you play the music, you're reading the liner notes, who produced every song, all the musicians on every track, who mixed it, all this stuff. And so kids back then had a greater appreciation for the world in which the artists share it with them, as opposed to now people kind of just listen to music. Not everybody. Again, I don't speak in forms of like talking about everybody, but just like in general, a lot of people listen to music in the background. So like a lot of times people are listening to music, they don't even know who the artist is. They just found a song and put it on their playlist and they just play it in the background. They have no real appreciation for who the artist is, a story that they're trying to tell. It's just another song on their playlist and that gets put into like a playlist wallpaper, and it's just that's that. And so I think kids today are having to deal with that, and they're also having to deal with the saturation of the market. Everybody is doing music. You know, um, and so you're battling with people. You're battling with people on all different levels. You're battling with people who just do it for a hobby. You're battling against people who do it for shits and giggles. You're battling against people who who take it kind of seriously, but not really, not doing the work that they need to do to like be professional. You're battling people who are just amazing, and then whoever the artist is, they're falling somewhere in between those things. So you're fighting for the attention in that sea of that allness, and that's just harder. It's not impossible, but it's just a much more difficult, challenging landscape to navigate. Um, so if I had to give advice, I would say give up, nigga. No, it's
It's over with. Go do something
like-
else.
nah. What I would say is try is to learn every aspect of what you're doing and strengthen all parts. So don't just be an artist, don't just be a writer, be a producer, be an arranger, be a composer, be if you can learn how to mix, be a musician, because these are different facets of the business that you could possibly monetize. Not only do I make music for myself, but I also compose for commercials. I just did an ad for Delta like a month ago. Um, composing music for like a major campaign for them. So I think learning how to create multiple income streams with different facets of your skill set is important. So I would say if you really love music, if you really love music, if you really, really love it, get to know every facet. You know, I used to hate that I had to do everything. My mom always used to say, man, you're gonna appreciate knowing how to do everything. Like it's gonna come in handy. She wasn't wrong, you know. It's like, you know, when someone calls me, it's like, yo, can you compose this? Can you do a score for this thing? It's like, oh yeah, I do have the skill set to do that. I can write for a string section. I could write for this. I could do that. It's like I have all these skill sets because I was kind of forced to learn all these things, you know, by not having to do it all myself. So I would say instead of being forced to do it, just do it voluntarily. Learn it because it's just useful. I always consider myself like a Swiss Army knife, you know. Whatever I have the blade for the whatever the problem is, you know. So I'll pull out the specific switch for whatever I need. So if I just need to vocal arrange somebody, then I could do that. If that's all you need, if you just call me in the session, it's like Spree, I just need you to vocal arrange this. Can you help me? I can do that. I don't even have to write. If you just want me to come in and play guitar for something, that's cool too. I'll use that blade. So it's like I have a skill set for everything. So I would advise that. And then I would also advise, like in today's age, to not limit yourself to just music. You know, we live in a day and age where like you have you have tutorials on how to do anything that you want to do, you know? So like maybe maybe you want to be an artist, a musician, and something else, whatever that is. Maybe you want to be a musician and like you want to learn how to make a movie, or you want to know how to be a photographer, or you want to know how to be an electrician, or maybe you want to be a doctor who plays music for their patients. You know, you have the ability to do whatever you want to do. So you can come up with crazy, wild combinations in this life. You know, as long as you have a low focus, as long as you have tenacity, as long as you have perseverance, as long as you don't really take no for an answer when it comes to business, when it comes to people, when it comes to like people hearing your art or giving you a chance um, to giving you a chance to help you get to where you need to get to. If you have all that, I don't see any way you could lose.
You can't.
All this stuff is a mindset too. You know, like that's why I think I spend so little time on social media because it's just a lot. Sometimes it's a lot of like, well, you ain't gonna make it if you don't do this. It's just a lot of you ain't gonna make it. Like like a lot of you ain't gonna make it messaging online, you know.
Mhm.
And if you swim in that river long enough, you will be swept away by those by that current, you know. So sometimes you just need to know that, hey man, I have this deep feeling inside of me that tells me that I need to do this. And I'm going to trust that instinct as opposed to like the instinct of people who don't know me are telling me, well, you know, only this certain amount of people make it. Everybody's like, it's like, hey man, I can't listen to that because the minute I do, then that's the minute where I just give up.
Yep. And then you're living your life in service of other people's wishes, and then that's always a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, and you're taking on other people's fears um, instead of experimenting and taking risks and developing your own um, results.
Mm. I got one more question for you. How does doing what you do affect the way that you see the world around you? And what I mean by that is like as a character designer, I study people's mannerisms. I study their fashion, their facial structure, like silhouettes. Or as a mural artist, I look at the walls in the city as I drive past. Like, dang, that'd be cool. That'd be crazy. Or I'm designing spaces, like, not even thinking about it. And so, for you, how does that translate in your world?
Being the kind of artist I am, it it I put a large focus on listening. And so everywhere I go, I'm listening because you just never know where a good story could come from, a good concept, a good conversational piece, a word that's intriguing. It can come from anywhere. So I find myself just, I always, people, anytime I'm having dinner with somebody, if I'm quiet, people like, you listen to their conversation, aren't you? I'm like, yeah. Because it's just like, I listen to everything. Like sometimes I'll even go to a coffee shop with a notebook and just sit in the corner and just listen to what people are talking about and just write down stuff, because you just never know where a song idea could come from, or a concept could come from, or a storyline for a script could come from anywhere. So kind of like how you drive around and how you look at people and you look at their silhouettes and you look at the art. I drive around listening a lot, listen to sounds, listen to not just people talk, but the sound of what the sound of the wind, the sound of cars driving by, um, sound of my mother's voice, the sound of like what it feels like when your foot hits the concrete, the sound of birds chirping. All that stuff is important because it helps you. How could I be a writer describing the world if I don't know what it sounds like? I don't know what it feels like. I can't. There's no way that I could ever describe what's going on if I haven't paid attention enough to it. So I think it just makes me more um, alert to the things that are around me. So I listen more than I talk usually. It's just I had to do an interview today, so it's just like I'm talking more, but usually I just listen a lot.
It's like you were saying, like what you do in between writing songs, you're like you're living life and you're in it. And don't mean you gotta go and, jump out a plane or anything, but it's like you're just mundane things have plenty of material, something that's so interesting, and that's oftentimes like better material. You let me know if you see it differently, but it seems like the mundane things are better material because it's something that people tend to experience more often than not.
It's
Mm.
the things that you don't. It's the things that you don't think about more than like this big event that happens in your life. And I think if you find a way to express even the mundane in a way that is creative, I think it's more effective because more people are experiencing that. You know, more experience, more people will experience what it means to feel sad as opposed to what it means to be in a burning building.
Yeah, so
you
true.
know, More people will experience grief in their lifetime than what it means to jump out of a plane. Uh, what it meant to get hit by a car. More people will experience that. That's why great writers focus on the emotion and not the event. Because I can still write about jumping out of a plane, but the jumping out of a plane is actually the least important of the story. It's the feeling that came from why I want to jump out of a plane. A feeling of wanting to be free. Now everybody wants to feel that. Everybody has that feeling, like wanting to feel free. So then you could just say, hey, I'm just using the jumping out of a plane part as a vehicle for telling the story of what I really want to talk about, which is this idea of just this need and this yearn to be free, to feel like I had more control, like, or to feel like what it felt like to take a risk, to do something that was exhilarating, because then people can apply that to whatever. Talking about getting dumped by a girl, or am I talking about feeling small? It doesn't matter what situation you're in. You can feel small in any situation. It's about finding the key emotion behind it, writing about that, writing from that standpoint, not necessarily the big package that you wrap it in.
Finding the key emotion behind these events and not necessarily the events themselves. They tend to those tend to kind of cut through. Those emotions tend to like transcend particular like phenomena. They they can exist in all different forms. Mm, man, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for this conversation, man. This was this
Oh man,
was
thanks for
this is
having me.
dope. This is I mean being able to chat with you for this time. I mean I've learned so much more in depth about who you are, and I've gained so much more of an interest and a respect and admiration for what you do and how you do it. And man, it's something that like since listening to it, I've been telling people all around me about it. I've been putting it out in the speaker. I play it in the car. It's in my rotation, and man, if up to me, I'm going to be sharing it out. I wish nothing but the best for your craft, and like I know that going forward, you're just going to continue to make masterpiece after masterpiece, and just wanting to let you know that you know you've got a supporter out of me, man, and I just appreciate you once again for coming on here and just talking to us about how you do what you do.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you opening up your platform. 'Cause I think you said that I'm your first musician.
Yep, very first one.
Yeah,
It's the
man.
last
I
episode of
hope
the year and the first musician.
I hope I set the bar. Hope I set a good bar for
Absolutely, you did.
like guys. It only goes up from here.
No, I mean you, man. No, you got. I mean, because even just the way that you're explaining things, you made it so clear, and then your work itself is just so like I know we didn't play any music in the interview, but just if they take a second and just go look and just go and listen
Yeah,
to what you have, I mean, they'll understand. It
yeah, for
translates.
sure.
It's very easy to like, oh yeah, he's about this. Like he's not play with this. Like you don't get music like this being play.
Yeah, I always tell I just tell people just to give the music a chance. There's no risk. Just to listen to it. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. I understand that my music is not for everybody, so um, I'm 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 okay with that. But I just ask that you just give it a once over. And if it
Mhm.
doesn't grab you, then I appreciate you listening once.
Yeah, check it out. Everybody check out Spree Wilson. Everybody check out These Days Don't Last Long. They are on all the streaming services,
All
um,
platforms,
all
baby.
platforms. Do you have a website as well?
Yeah, I have spreewilson.com. So you can so
Mhm.
you can visit me there. We'll be doing tour dates there. I mean, the tour dates will be everywhere because you just kind of have to put them everywhere nowadays. But my website is really dope. It looks really cool, and we put a lot of work into it. So, uh,
Just put your message in I put your website in the chat so that
yeah,
people can check it out.
spreewilson.com. And then the music is everywhere. And all I ask here's my only ask. This is my only request to people. If you do happen to like the music, if you really enjoy it, if it really hits a nerve, all I ask is that you share it with one person. Share it with one person that you think could benefit from this. And that's it.
Mhm.
Just one at a time. Like I am my art is generally a slow burn. So I'm not this isn't going to be something that I expect to like blow up overnight. Although I wouldn't be surprised, my life is full of as we said, my life can be full of serendipity events. So like I wouldn't be surprised if that happened, but I also go into it knowing that this is a lot of times music is a slow burn and people have to get to know the art for a little while. And so I'm going to just be playing this music live because I think it's a project that if if appreciating from a sonic level is one thing, but I think the live experience is probably going to make that experience way a little bit more richer. So that's what I'm working on now is just getting the live show better tighter and making sure that when we come to different cities, that this experience feels 10 times as powerful as it is when you're just listening to it through headphones or through speakers.
Mhm.
We want it to be an experience, and not just, oh, I saw him live. We want you to feel like, damn, what the fuck did I just see? Like this is amazing. It'll be an imprinted memory because we take musicians very seriously. The group of musicians that I'm around take it seriously, and we take playing for people as a hobby. You know, people are spending their time and their money to come see us. So we want to make sure that we do right by them and give them something that is forgettable, worth their while.
Man, I'll definitely, um, just give me the dates, give me the times. I'll definitely make sure
Yeah,
to
for
pull
sure.
up and see it, man. I'm sure it'll be
Oh,
amazing.
we gonna give you VIP. You gonna be all right.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. I'll be in attendance. We'll be
Yeah.
there. Um, I have a closing tradition on the podcast. It's called the Vertex. Vertex stands as the point of connection. Uh, Here it was between us two, us and the listeners. But I also want to give you the chance to start a connection with any person, place, or thing out there in the world. And my hope is that as the platform grows and as the community grows, we can connect you with whoever you are looking to connect with. And so, whether it's a dream client or a long lost friend that you feel out of contact with, my hope is that like you say, "Hey, I wanted to meet with such and such," and a viewer can be like, "Oh, that's my boss or that's my best friend, that's my roommate or whoever," and we can connect you easily. So just giving you the opportunity to reach out to whoever you'd want to.
Oh, this is dope. Okay, so I'll put both of these people out. So I have two my two heroes that I've always wanted to work with. I haven't had a chance to work with are Raphael Sadiq and Andre 3000. These are the two people that have had such a enormous impact on the way that I see artistry, the way that I put together my art, the way that I see myself as an artist, and my creativity. And so I'm hoping that I've put this out on different platforms too. So I'm hoping that if I put it out enough times in different places, that first work in my favor. And like, you know what? I'll be back on another episode. Like, hey, man, you know what? I got a call one morning and it's like 100,000
Hmm.
wants to
Hmm.
wants to talk to you. So yeah, those are the two connections I hope to have sometime in the
Man,
near future.
I think I met Andre once in Sam Flax. I think he was in
Mm,
there with his son, and he didn't seem like he was in the best mood. I don't know. He might have just been having one of them days. But remember just like speaking to him, and I was asking him if I could take a picture, and he was like, "Nah." Like he didn't really have words for me. I'm like, "Nah." It just wasn't one of those days. But I remember just seeing him. I'm like, "Dang, that's really him right there. That's crazy."
yeah.
Like,
Like you saw a unicorn walking around in real life.
right, right. And it was just him. Like he don't seem like the type that would walk around with a bunch of security anyway, but just for somebody at that level is just like to see him just kind of walking around as if he's just this normal guy, it's just wild. It was wild to see.
Yeah.
And is there any now that you've had the chance to do an episode and you know the kind of places we go to in conversation, are there any people that you would like to see on the show in the future, or do you think would be good guests?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Should I say it on here?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I have a good friend named Bosco.
Oh, yeah.
Uh yeah, I think she'd be
Bosco.
great on this show.
Mhm. Cool. But yeah, I interviewed somebody else that said Bosco as well. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I might have to reach
I
out.
think she'll be a great guest.
Well, yeah, man. Thank you so much once again. This was amazing. I think this is the perfect way to end the year. Man, this has been such a crazy journey. You're episode 31.
Oh
And
wow.
so I've had so many guests on here, and I mean, this was just as great as all the other ones as well. Like it's just
How has it been growing as a growing into this interviewer role, conversationalist? I look at you more like a. I mean, we're doing an interview, but it's more so a conversationalist, round table type of situation.
it's interesting. Like I did it with like I set out with on this journey to one in hopes to or three things actually. One, to be able to meet people who inspire me, to be able to learn more about people beyond what they put out like publicly and on social media and stuff, and then to become a better communicator and a better listener. And so like I've just been trying to sharpen those skills on all fronts. And it's I'm seeing the progress kind of slowly. Like I definitely have a better like a stronger muscle for like listening to people, as they're explaining things to me. And being able to kind of navigate like trying to get people to a specific frequency, I guess, because there's some people who are really high energy and like big bold personalities. There's some people who are like quieter or more shy. There's people who talk less or talk more. And it's like it's an exercise of kind of finding where they are and then seeing how I can kind of bring them a little towards me and I go a little towards them. And like wherever that lands, that's what I do each week. And I feel like that's kind of what I do just in general now. And I'm like, maybe that's just what conversations are all about. I don't know. Like I don't know. But it's been cool and it's been a lot of fun. And I've gotten to know so much and learn so much about being a creative and being a good human from people. And like, I mean, even as I work now, there's things that like I hear like just whispers of like past conversations in my ear as I'm painting, I'm listening. I feel myself kind of like wavering on like, is this cool? And then I hear somebody's like quote, or I'll even what I asked you earlier about putting together like having writing exercises and things like that. Like now, whenever I'm writing, I probably hear like, I mean, what does being sad look like instead of just how do I say sad or something? It's like there's things like that, and it's really helped to augment the way that I create and then the way that I continue to do this show. So it's been amazing. It's been so much fun,
That's great, man. Well, I wish you nothing but the best of your journey.
man. I appreciate it,
Um,
man.
this is fun. I don't do a lot of interviews, so uh, yeah. When yeah, this is great. This is like so yeah. This is the kind of interviews that I would like to do all the time.
Oh man. Yeah, true. I'm glad you enjoyed it so much. And I definitely this is just an idea that I'm wanting to introduce to you. Um this would be something for like later on down the line, but I'm wanting to find a way to conduct like group conversations at a certain point that can introduce different perspectives on a specific thing. So like in a grand scheme of my first example when I thought of this was around the like how to truly design an iconic character. And I have like a friend that does character design. Well, Cartoon Network isn't a thing anymore, but he used to do character design for Cartoon Network. I got like a friend that's like a graffiti writer, and like he's got a very famous character that people see all over the place. And then like you've got somebody who does artwork for themselves and has built a brand off of this character. And it's like, what can these three people learn from each other? And then like, how do people get a better, well-rounded version of like, okay, this is truly what makes an icon of a character versus like just the one perspective. And man, I'd love to be able to have your perspective, tackling a specific thing, whether it's like learning to tell a story or, talking about specific intricacies in musical creation or, just anywhere where it would just make sense, and I'd love to be able to have you on in like a group setting of some sort.
I'll be honored. Yes,
Ooh,
I'll be honored.
bet. Bet, man. Yeah, so I'll definitely I'll be in contact with you for that. And would you ever I I feel like this gonna be a yes, but would you ever make music for a video game?
Yeah,
Mm,
100%,
okay.
150%.
Okay, bet. Bet, bet,
It'll
bet.
be it'll be an amazing it would be an amazing challenge to do because I've never done it before. I mean, there's so many iconic. I mean, Mario Brothers. I mean, like I grew up on so
Mhm.
many iconic video game theme songs that just are kind of embedded in my mind, and I would love to do something like that. Just like have the opportunity to create something that has a possibility to be remembered. Um, but yeah,
Mm-hmm. Because I'm hearing the way that you do. Like, I don't know if it's because of how much I've been listening to it, but it's like your songs have like they're in my ear. Like I just hear myself. It's really shadows be having me. Like I'll just be like singing it throughout the day, and I'm like, man, there's gonna if you can make something where it's like just as like engaging and like it kind of just grabs hold of you like that, and the gameplay can be good, man.
yeah, I love that. I would love to do it. I would love to do it. It sounds so like again another adventure. It's not like something I haven't experienced before, but something that I would love to take that adventure,
Hmm.
see what happens.
I'm definitely. I'm gonna see. I'm gonna talk to you about it.
Keep me posted. Keep me posted.
And then you should definitely check out if you haven't heard it before, there's a game called Balatro. It's Balatro. And there's
BAL. What is it?
Balatro. And the whole game, the entire game, it's like a card game you play like on a computer or on your phone, but the whole game is one song. Like a lot of video games will have like at least a couple, like a little rotation. It's one song, and different moments of the game just kind of like sometimes the volume will go down, or it'll have like a different type of twist on it, or like a distortion. But it's one song, and I've personally logged like hundreds of hours into this game over the past year or so. I still love the song. It's amazing. I thought I'd be tired of it by now, but I'm not. And like I'm interested to hear your thoughts about that song, because it's really interesting. It's like it's a card game, but it's based on like the Jokers, and like it's very like clown-esque, and it's a real crazy thing. I think it's in 7/8 too. It's a really interesting song, but it's I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it when you.
I can download it. I can download it in the App Store.
Yeah, but it costs. But you could just search the song like on YouTube or something. Like,
oh, YouTube. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll check it out. I'll check it out tonight.
Yeah, let me know. Let me know what you think.
Balatro.
Mm-hmm. That game is, and I mean, it's a fun game. I don't know if you're a big gamer, but if you like, like card games and stuff like that, it's a fun game too. But if you just want to hear the song, you could just find it on YouTube.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna check it out tonight.
Mm-hmm. All right, man. Well, that's all we got here, man. Do you have any other anything else before we wrap up?
Man. Take your vitamins. Drink your water. Life's too short. Release the anger.
Mm-hmm.
Take risks. Have fun. Fall in love. Live life.
Man. Words from the wise. That's Bree Wilson, ladies and gentlemen.
I'll be your sound effect.
Nice.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, man. Same. Thank you. Well, good luck with everything. And yeah, let me know what you think of the song, man.
Yeah, I'll send you a DM as soon as I listen to it and tell you, give you my thoughts.
Throw it in the back of the backseat.
yeah. Slow motion.
Right. Yeah, man. All right. Well, I'll catch you later, man. You be safe out there.
Peace, man. Take care. Have a good rest of your week.
Thank you so much for watching the episode. One of my favorite things about doing this podcast is hearing about when someone resonates with something we said. It's truly the reason I continue to make these happen. Comment down below what stuck with you, and we can continue the discussion further. Also consider liking and subscribing. It helps me bring in more amazing creatives and helps me make this show better for you all every episode. Catch y'all next week.